You duh. Yeah. You duh. You down with AIP? Yeah, you know me. Anything is possible to create the key. On the mic, I'm the truth, no fantasy. Podcast flow, old school vibe guaranteed. AIP, every listener knows. Breaking barriers, smashing the foes. Convos deeper than a philosopher's prose. We planting seeds, watch how it grows. Jumped on the beat like a classic cassette. Late night talk, the vibe you won't forget. Dropping wisdom gems, the grind is set. Every story told, ain't no limits met. You open the mind, the world opens wide. On this podcast, real thoughts collide. From the cooks in the kitchen to the suits we chide. Dreams get bigger when the truth's supplied. Sip on success like it's poured in a mug. Real talk, no BS, no need for a shrug. In your ear like an anthem, snug as a hug. Tune in, feel the buzz, plug after plug. AIP, every listener knows. Breaking barriers, smashing the foes. Convos deeper than a philosopher's prose. We planting seeds, watch how it grows. AIP, every listener knows. Breaking barriers, smashing the foes. Convos deeper than a philosopher's prose. We planting seeds, watch how it grows. 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 Rare. Deep in the swamp where the secrets lay thick. Whispers in the shadows, they hit like a brick. Talking with the moon, got the stars in a twist. Truth or illusion, the facts get dismissed. Talking with conspiracy, whispers in the air. Truth in the trenches, but who really care? From the dirty south where the legends get made. Stories in the dark, watch the shadows parade. Slick tongues spin tales like a spider on a thread. Hood prophets preach knowledge while the streets stay fed. Voices echo deep where the rivers don't flow. Lost truths buried under where the cold winds blow. Heavy bass thump, got the block hypnotized. Mysteries unfold under blood red skies. Voices in the static, they creep through the scene. Street sermons spill truths, but they cut like a guillotine. Talking with conspiracy, whispers in the air. Truth in the trenches, but who really care? From the dirty south where the legends get made. Stories in the dark, watch the shadows parade.
All you ever hear about in this country is our differences. It's all they ever talk about. Politicians and the media always pushing the things that separate us, things that make us different. That's the way the ruling class operates in any society. They divide the rest of the people. They keep the lower and the middle classes fighting with each other so that they, the rich, can run off with all the fucking money. Fairly simple thing. Fairly simple thing happens to work. Anything that's different about us, you know that's what they're pushing at you. Racial differences, religious, ethnic, national backgrounds, jobs, income, education, social status, sexuality, anything they can do to keep us fighting with each other so that they can keep going to the bank.
It's a big club, and you ain't in it. You and I are not in the big club.
Keep it home, baby.
What's up? What's up, everybody? What's up, Jason? What's up, Jamie?
Let me get a sound check. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I can hear you.
Okay, great. I know we had issues before, so I'm glad it's working.
It's always issues. And
we always have issues.
It's not a real live podcast if we don't have issues, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We got and chat's already rumbling already. That's awesome.
Yeah, check it out. So I ended I dropped out of Tyler's show. We use StreamYard, and I was curious to see if, you know, when I'm piggybacking on him and I put my destination in, it streams there, it continues to stream. So it's just worth noting that, I guess once his personal studio latches onto my destination, even if I leave, that's great. It means they don't have to visit it for an hour and a half every time. So cool stuff.
Hell yeah, hell yeah. We got catastrophe and Bigfoot truth. I agree with the Bigfoot truth. Yeah, this could be a very good distraction. Oh no, we lost
Uh-oh.
Jason. He was kind of, dang it. Uh, yeah, the good distraction about what the tomorrow is. Um, damn, he said another school shooter was just up the road from him.
From
Damn,
where? Where he was?
about 5 miles from Columbine.
Columbine, yeah.
Yeah, dang it. And we got Raz was number one on the Rumble, and Hiker is here, Raz is here, Theo is here, Bride Mac. Nice, nice, nice. Yeah, Jason just disappeared. He'll be back in a second. His internet and this program just they don't like each other for some reason. But hopefully we're gonna get it going in just a second. Good.
I am in the Rumble chat.
Yeah, it's rock and rolling in the Rumble right now. We got um Theo, I was gonna mess with you last week. You made me laugh, but I couldn't say nothing because he was steady talking, but you were like he's a real politician.
Yeah.
Talking about Mike Gatto, I was like, yeah, we actually got real politicians coming on the show.
Yeah.
Oh, at least
He,
former ones.
he was all right. I won't hound him too bad.
He no, he was good. He was actually, he answered all but one question, which we're going to answer that question tonight. So, well, we're not going to answer it. I
Oh
guess
my goodness.
we're sure going to
That's
be putting it. We're going to put some stuff out there for it. We are going to put some stuff out there, and we got more people coming. I know Karen said she's going to pop in once Tiger's done. So we're gonna.
Yeah, sorry I dropped out, man. I'm I'm trying a different browser. We'll see if this fixes the issue, man.
You sound better on that ready. So maybe.
Yeah, I'm using Brave. I usually use Chrome to do the show because it works well with StreamYard. But we'll get Brave a try and see what happens.
Sounds good.
Let me
That
jump
sounds
on over to your Rumbly Rumble so I can see the chat.
Thanks, Theo. Appreciate it. He did talk like a California politician, but like you said, he pretty much answered everything pretty open until he got the 9/11 stuff, and then he sounded very politicianal. Well, we can't really say what there's some people that made money off there, but I respect it though. I do understand. I appreciate him coming on the show. He sure didn't have to come all the way on this little show here. He's on Newsmax and all them other big shows. And him wanting to take the time and come down here to hang out with us. It's pretty cool. Oh, Duffy, you got what's up, Duffy? Bigfoot truth. Yeah, both of them, both sides. We always had a good chat on
so
both
where
sides.
do we want to start at tonight?
I like to take a moment for Mr. Kirk. Just take a moment of silence. If he didn't agree with everything he said, I didn't agree with everything he said. We talked about this during lunch, but still, at the end of the day, that man did not. He tried to bring people together and have conversation just like we
He's a
do.
human being, a
He's,
father.
two children, 31 years old, young as hell. Had his whole life in front of him. Worked his ass off to get where he was. And so. Yeah, so I just want to do that real quick, and I'm gonna take my hat off and blind everybody. Hold on, before I do that, here comes Miss Ashley. What's up, Ashley?
Hey there, how are y'all doing?
Good. Glad
Doing well.
you're able to come on and hang out with us today.
Yeah, thanks for the invite. Sorry I'm a little bit late.
It's okay. We're still really getting started and everything. I knew we'd be a little slow. Um, it's all good. It's all good. But yeah, I'll just tell them I want to do a real quick. I'm gonna take my head off and blind everybody and do a little moment of silence for Mr. Kirk, and then we'll get started. I got a pretty cool presentation, and then we can go from there, I guess.
Yeah, I seen the preview you sent me, Ricky. Um, there's a lot of video in there that I've never seen, and I've looked a lot into this, so I don't know where you got that stuff. But
Some
yeah,
I've been saving, some
interesting.
I've been digging everywhere, and I found some more. I've been adding to it. I've added to just a little bit ago, uh, but yeah. So real quick,
By the way, notice the hat that I'm wearing, Ricky?
all the trouble minds.
Yeah,
Yeah, Mr.
best
Strange.
fitting hat. Yeah, it's the best fitting hat I own, actually. It fits me
Oh,
like a glove.
I wouldn't doubt it. I wouldn't doubt it. What's up, Tate? We got Tate in the chat, and it's gonna be, like I said, it's gonna be fun. I got share my screen. All nice setup here, big and bright. Uh, well, right off the bat, let me play the first video. Is a couple minutes, and we have a. I guess. We lost Jason again. As soon as I flipped, there he is. I guess before I start,
It
go ahead,
it
Jason.
may keep kicking me off, Ricky. I have a really crappy upload speed here, and the way that this works, where it records everybody's stuff, that may be the issue we had this issue before. So if it keeps kicking me off, I'll just kind of hang out and chat. If that's what the case is.
Yeah, I understand. Before it does, uh, Jason, where were
Thank you.
you when 9/11 happened?
So we had we had a typhoon in Okinawa, and I was stationed there in the Army, and I was on typhoon duty, which is where you just stay there for a 24/7 shift uh, until the typhoon's over. And we watched it happen live on CNN because they always have CNN playing up. In the military, they have the news up in the main, command areas and stuff. And yeah, we were actually supposed to be hit with mortars. There was attacks. A lot of people don't know this, but there was attacks on multiple embassies and targets at the same time. We had a typhoon come over us. It was a category 4 or 5, I believe. It was a pretty big one. It literally did a U-turn and came back and hovered over the island. And that's the only reason that our little communications compound didn't get hit. There was a lot of plans. There was a plans to do a V-bid on the hospital on Kadena Air Base. People had stolen emergency vehicles and license plates and uniforms, and for months. I mean, this came to light after the fact, but it was a multi-pronged attack that nobody really knows about. It was on all kinds of targets. But yeah, I was in Okinawa, watched it live on TV. I remember my initial thoughts, having lived in Vegas and watched a few controlled demolitions. My initial thought was, thank God they wired those buildings with explosives ahead of time so they could bring them down in an emergency. And I told my buddy, I said, thank God they had that set up to do a controlled demolition. And he looked at me like I was crazy. I'm like, well, dude, that was a controlled demolition. There's no doubt about it. So that was my initial thought before anything came out, when we thought it was terrorists and airplanes and stuff like that. And then, all that good stuff. So yeah, that's where I was, brother.
Nice. That's pretty cool. What about you, Ashley? Where were you on this fateful day 24 years ago?
Yeah, it's it's appropriate, of course, to ask that question, but a weird it's such a weird thing, right? Because we all remember exactly where we were. We remember that whole day. And, you don't have that many days like that in your life. So I was on a college campus. And I remember I was going to my first class. Like I was not an early riser at the time, and it was probably my 10 a.m. class. And I heard people talking about something that had happened, and I had to ask one of my classmates what happened. And she told me, and then we spent the rest of the day with our people in the dorm room watching television, and people had their rooms open, and people were just kind of coming in and amassing together and watching the coverage of that day, and just trying to process together. And I remember a lot of schools had classes canceled, but I had English class later that day, and I thought it was weird that I had to go to class, and it was a very strange situation. And then, of course, at that time, I didn't have the context that we have now, and so I believed the story. And so now thinking back, it's it just makes it that much more strange of what we were told on that day, of the constant news coverage. And I don't know, it's just weird to be thinking back about that day.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, because it's crazy. Like you said, everybody remembers, knows exactly where they were, because it was a life changing event that day. I mean, it changed how everybody lives and and how people do things to this day. Right after that, we had the Patriot Act come in, and then we start getting molested at the airports, and we all the fun stuff that happens. That it's for sure. We know exactly where we are. How about you, Mr. Grant? Where were you
Bro,
at on this day?
I was getting ready to leave my first class in school when I was in college, and I was 24 years old. Wait a minute. Yeah, I was 24, and they turned the TV on just as, actually, no, wait a minute. TV was on right after the first tower got hit, and I lived right across from the campus, and busted right back across the street to get to the house just in time to watch the second plane hit, and was like, oh my God. And the one thing that stands out from that day to me was the eeriness of living in the Memphis International flight path and all air traffic ceasing that day. You know what I mean? Because, like, when you live in that flight line, that's all you hear. You get accustomed to it. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And to see all that get shut down was, it's pretty wild, man. Yeah, I'll never forget the emotion that I felt that day and the days after. I don't know if I've ever showed you, Ricky, but I've got a collection of newspapers um, from the first 5 days after September 11. From them immediately naming Osama bin Laden. I've got newspaper clippings from the day that we went in overseas and invaded Iraq, clippings from Afghanistan, and then here we are now, you know, 25 years later, and you find out that everything that we've been told is now up for legitimate debate and question of the integrity of everything that we were given. You know, um, yeah, it's been a hell of a roller coaster. I
Oh
mean,
yeah, oh yeah, for sure. Um, I was working at Kroger for doing receiving in the back, and I remember we come up and they turn around and somebody, one of the vendors, came in and told me, and I was just about to tell Jason maybe he cut his video off. It might do better for him. Uh, but he turned around uh, and I was like, "Holy hell!" And I turned around and I got the this little bitty TV with on black and whites with little radio and stuff they had. You put batteries in, for like backup, and I put it up on my shelf and I was watching it till about 11, and then I went upstairs and watched the rest. I punched out for lunch. I came back for lunch, and then I went back in the room. I never did anything else the rest of the day. I just sat up there and watched and was amazed. And then, of course, we turned around and we decided, you know, uh, it's one of them things. Hey, Jason, if you try one more time, try cutting your video off and see if that helps. If you want to try one more time, but dang, that's crazy. Or maybe try it from your phone. Then we can just hold your phone up in front of you. Man, it was just wild to see, and then we see everything going on, and now we know, like you said, we know there's so much holes in it. There's so many different things, and I got a bunch of stuff, bunch of videos, and clips and pictures. Some stuff we get showed last year, but I got quite a bit more from last year. We did this last year with me and Jamie and Dave. It was episode 9, I think it was. It's crazy. It's already been a year, Jamie. We're back around for another 9/11 talking with conspiracy. So it's wild. But hear me. Let me play this first video, and then and maybe a clip right afterwards. I forget. Make sure Jason I'll pop back in.
September 11th, 2001, 19 men armed with box cutters, directed by a man on dialysis in a cave fortress halfway around the world, using a satellite phone and a laptop, directed the most sophisticated penetration of the most heavily defended airspace in the world, overpowering the passengers and the military combat-trained pilots on 4 commercial aircraft before flying those planes wildly off course for over an hour without being molested by a single fighter interceptor. These 19 hijackers, devout religious fundamentalists who like to drink alcohol, snort cocaine, and live with pink-haired strippers, managed to knock down 3 buildings with 2 planes in New York, while in Washington, a pilot who couldn't handle a single-engine Cessna was able to fly a 757 in an 8,000-foot descending 270-degree corkscrew turn to come exactly level with the ground, hitting the Pentagon and the budget analyst office where DoD staffers were working on the mystery of the $2.3 trillion that Defense Secretary Donald Rumsfeld had announced missing from the Pentagon's coffers in a press conference the day before, on September 10th, 2001. Luckily, the news anchors knew who did it within minutes.
Osama bin Laden.
The pundits knew within hours.
Osama bin Laden.
The administration knew within the day.
Terrorists who committed these acts and those who harbor them.
And the evidence literally fell into the FBI's lap.
That a hijacker's passport was found blocks from the World Trade Center crash site, if you can believe that.
But for some reason, a bunch of crazy conspiracy theorists demanded an investigation into the greatest attack on American soil in history. That investigation was delayed, underfunded, set up to fail, a conflict of interest, and a cover-up from start to finish. It was based on testimony extracted through torture, the records of which were destroyed. It failed to mention the existence of WTC-7, Able Danger, P-TECH, Sibel Edmonds, OBL and the CIA, and the drills of hijacked aircraft being flown into buildings that were being simulated at the precise same time that those events were actually happening. It was lied to by the Pentagon, the CIA, the Bush administration, and as for Bush and Cheney, well, no one knows what they told it because they testified in secret, off the record, not under oath, and behind closed doors. It didn't bother to look at who funded the attacks because that question is ultimately of little practical significance. Still, the 9/11 Commission did brilliantly answering all of the questions the public had, except most of the victims' family members' questions, and pinned blame on all the people responsible, although no one so much as lost their job, determining the attacks were
failure of imagination.
Because
nobody in our government, at least, and I don't think the prior government that could envision flying airplanes into buildings.
Except the Pentagon, FEMA, NORAD, and the NRO. The DIA destroyed 2.5 terabytes of data on Able Danger, but that's okay because it probably wasn't important. The SEC destroyed their records on the investigation into the insider trading before the attacks, but that's okay because destroying the records of the largest investigation in SEC history is just part of routine record keeping. NIST has classified the data that they used for their model of WTC-7's collapse, but that's okay because knowing how they made their model of the collapse would jeopardize public safety. The FBI has argued that all material related to their investigation of 9/11 should be kept secret from the public, but that's okay because the FBI probably has nothing to hide. This man never existed, nor is anything he had to say worthy of your attention, and if you say otherwise, you are a paranoid conspiracy theorist and deserve to be shunned by all of humanity. Likewise him, and her, and her, and her, and him. Osama bin Laden lived in a cave fortress in the hills of Afghanistan, but somehow got away. Then he was hiding out in Tora Bora, but somehow got away. Then he lived in Abbottabad for years, taunting the most comprehensive intelligence dragnet, employing the most sophisticated technology in the history of the world for a decade, releasing video after video with complete impunity and getting younger and younger as he did so, before finally being found in a daring SEAL team raid which wasn't recorded on video, in which he didn't resist or use his wife as a human shield, and in which these crack special forces operatives panicked and killed this unarmed man, supposedly the best source of intelligence about those dastardly terrorists on the entire planet. Then they dumped his body in the ocean before telling anyone about it. Then a couple dozen of that team's members died in a helicopter crash in Afghanistan. This is the story of 9/11, brought to you by the media which told you the hard truths about
his head could be seen to move violently forward.
And
they took the babies out of the incubators.
And
mobile production facilities.
And
the rescue of Jessica Lynch.
If you have any questions about this story, you are a batshit paranoid tinfoil dog-abusing baby hater and will be reviled by everyone. If you love your country and or freedom, happiness, rainbows, rock and roll, puppy dogs, apple pie, and your grandma, you will never ever express doubts about any part of this story to anyone. Ever. This has been a public service announcement by the Friends of the FBI, CIA, NSA, DIA, SEC, NSM, White House, NIST, and the 9/11 Commission. Because ignorance is strength.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I kind of like that video. It just puts everything in a perspective for everybody all at one time, and
it was 8:46 in the morning.
And then we heard a plane come over. And in Manhattan, you don't hear planes too often, especially loud ones.
Oh, shit!
That says there is no report of any casualties. Without jumping to too many conclusions, looking at the extent of this damage and knowing how well populated that building is, at that now there's another explosion. Television antenna.
Plane 2 again.
When the buildings collapsed, we could hear a rumble, which was about 5 seconds long, preceding the actual collapse, and then a boom when each of those towers collapsed.
A boom. I'll stop here for a little bit. There we go. I was waiting for a picture. What's up, Miss Karen? How you doing?
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, ma'am.
My entire laptop screen is black now. I can't see anything. It's so strange. I have the Rumble feed on my second monitor, but it's very strange. I'm fine. It's been a hard day. It's been a long, draining day.
I can imagine with everything going on and just a absolute wild day to see, all that happening today at, in Utah. But yeah, we can see you, so that's a good thing.
Oh, I can see you on my second screen.
Okay.
But my laptop screen that I work off of that has the link you sent and Twitter and everything, it went black. So I'll figure it out later.
No problem.
Hopefully I can figure it out.
But everybody else said it. Since you're here now, where were you when all this went down in 9/11 24 years ago?
Oh boy, I was a teacher and I must have been sick that day. I usually got sick toward the beginning of the school year. I'd always end up with sinus infection and bronchitis and get really, really sick until I would take some time off and get better. So I was home that day and I remember standing in my living room watching the second plane hit and thinking about my daughter who was, gosh, she would have been in first or second grade at that time, and just hoping she'd be okay at school. And of course, I live in California, so I wasn't too worried about something happening here. But it was, I just remember standing there looking at that, thinking, oh my goodness, wow. And then just being completely absorbed in the coverage and the siren sounds and the dust and the poor workers going in through that dust for days and days. And now we know they didn't have the proper equipment, you know, as far as masks and things. They should have never been there. And so many of them have died from that dust, that toxic dust, and looking for the bodies that of course they never found. And it was all very traumatizing, as well it was meant to be. And it had its impact on me, definitely, but I'm sure not nearly as much as people who lived closer to the East Coast.
No, no doubt, no doubt. Um, yeah, it was a wild day. The picture I got pulled up here is to me is one of my favorite pictures. I showed this picture a friend of mine the other day, and of course you got the building 1 and 2 here, and building 7 crumbled. Well, the thing is always, um, I mean, let me go back. Let me go this way before people can actually see my mouse. Is building 6 right here? This hole right here is actually building 6, where there's a hole blown in the center of it. Things that make you wonder. This was building 3 right here, I think it was, and I got another picture. It's got them all labeled, but this was building 6, and so to me it was, like it was meant to come down too, but they screwed up, and something wasn't set right. Let's see if y'all noticed that about building 6 or not, or if y'all heard about building 6.
You mean the building with the big hole in the middle of it?
Yeah.
Only from you, Ricky. Only from you.
A lot of people hadn't.
It's interesting how the only buildings that were damaged all belong to the same owner who just took out an insurance policy on them.
Yeah. The fires and stuff did not come over here to this building or this building over here and destroy it or level it. It just went straight to the other building that's part of the complex. These buildings do not belong to the Twin Tower complex. It's amazing. Fire knows where it needs to go, I guess. Another video. Yeah, oops. I didn't mean to do that. Yeah, there's building 4 right there, and building 7, building 6 right there. Another line of it, seeing absolutely destroyed and a big old hole blown in the center of it. And with just other videos I have on there, and it talks about it, is like, where did everything go? Like, it's a huge buildings, but all the rumble is gone. It actually pulverized to dust.
Dustification.
I'm kind of curious. I've talked to Billy Ray Valentine. He's talked about this on his show America Unplugged, and I'm sorry I cut my video. I'm just doing that because I think I have an upload issue, so no video might help. Seems to be working, but apparently, and Little John has talked about this, one of our listeners. There's a massive underground network that was below the World Trade Centers. So did they dig all that stuff out? Is that where the rubble went? Or watching when they fell, it looked like everything just got vaporized into dust and wound up spread across the city. That's what it looks like to me. Because even you'd have to have an underground, what is the Hive in what's that movie with the Umbrella Corporation?
Resident Evil.
Yeah, Resident Evil. You'd have to have something that large of an empty space for all that material to go into. And they said it was a pretty vast underground network with restaurants and malls and stuff down there, but I don't think it would occupy the same amount of space as those two humongous buildings. So
I think it was
don't know.
70 feet deep. The underground, the basement, I think was 70 feet because they had built. I have a video on it. Um, we'll get to it, but it's because they had to build like concrete walls and stuff to keep the Hudson River out. If not, it would just bleed in. So they actually now was I think it's like 70 feet deep, something like that. So it wouldn't be. There's no way that much rubble would go down in there. And once there's later on you see other videos and other pictures of it. If you look at it, you'll see like the firefighters and everybody there. Actually, I got one video where they were bucket grading bricks and dust and trying to find people, but there was nothing. There was no file cabinets. There's no desks. There's no peoples. There's no nothing. Everything just gone. Absolutely gone.
And oh, sorry to interrupt you, Ricky. I just wanted to
No,
say,
no.
and I know the chat's aware, but that the other thing is that Corbett discusses the very rapid cleanup and carry off of anything that would potentially have been something that could have been investigated. And I think it was like shipped to China or something, but
Yes.
they had it cleaned up really, really quickly. And I mean, this is one of the things when the Knights of the Storm, we were chatting about you having this show. There are so many threads of corruption, of mystery, of things that don't make sense here, of the propaganda, of the larger plan at play. It's really a massive undertaking to get your mind around it all. Even if you're watching well laid out videos, it's really insane.
Did you
Let me
hear?
go ahead. I'm sorry,
Did you
Karen.
hear
Go ahead.
Ron Johnson was talking? Ron Johnson was just on Corbett again within the last week or so, and he said that there was a gentleman who came to him and told him that he was asked to very quickly go through the rubble before it was shipped off from the towers and look for any electronic devices. So he was supposed to skim through the rubble and look for electronic devices, and he can't remember the name or find the card of that person. So he's asking for that person to please let him know who they are again. And then Ron Johnson also talked today at a big event, 3-day event being held in Washington, D.C., and that Redacted is sponsoring. So that's also going on now. And Richard Gage started off the presentations this afternoon.
Point something out because I had a friend that worked at the Pentagon where it got hit. There was a phenomenally large amount of people that just inexplicably didn't show up to work that day. A lot of people. This is well documented, by the way. And this actually happened to my buddy. He was over in Okinawa with me and had just left in PCS to work in the Pentagon, which is a really prestigious job. It was going to boost his career. But the guy was kind of lazy about getting up and making it to PT on time or shaving before PT or whatever. He wasn't the best soldier, but he got the assignment and he missed PT that day because they don't have a PT field out there and around the Pentagon. So I don't know if they went to a gym or what they did, but he didn't show up on time. And his boss, which was probably something like a E6 or E7 or something, was like, hey, you're going to get counseled. You're going to get, counseling is just like kind of like a write up, like you get at a normal job. And he's like, but hey, don't come into work. Normally you would say when you come to work later, work call after PT, and then you go change and shower and stuff. And of course, reverse that order. You want to shower and then change, right? But anyway, instead of being like, come to my office and see me when you get to work, he's like, hey, meet me over at this coffee shop instead. And he diverted my friend away from going to work on time. And they were at a different location, and so was a lot of other people. They just happened to not be at work on time. That's not normal, especially for military. I could see some freakish thing where a whole bunch of people don't show up to like the World Trade Center civilians and stuff, but in the military, everybody shows up on time. And there was a whole bunch of people that did not go there for various reasons. Now, were they in the know? I don't know, but I just noticed that. I don't know. What's y'all's thoughts on that?
A lot didn't come to the Twin Towers either, and didn't come to work. There was a lot of people missing for work that day. It was many, I think thousands was missing that day from work. So, um, somebody was in the know saying, "Hey, y'all stay home." Uh, they might not have known the whole situation, what was going to happen, but they knew, stay home or get people diverted or, whatever. There something had to give.
Yeah, and it was very suspiciously like Oklahoma City
Yes.
at the Murrah building whenever you have an entire office building of ATF agents that just happened to not show up to work that day.
I was thinking the exact same thing, Ashley.
Skip
Exactly.
day.
And yep.
And the thing is like what you were saying, Karen, having these thoughts, because we can identify these threads in every
Patterns.
single false flag. Like, it may not be the exact same thing, but it just is so common. And it's just like we were already mentally prepped for 9/11 in some ways because of the World Trade bombing in 1993. And we know that that was an op as well. The person that they were using was confused why the FBI had him use a real bomb. And so there was that. And then, there's people that talk about all of the predictive programming that we saw from The Simpsons to other like movie clips, just small little things where the 9/11 image was kind of put there for us to see. So it's very strange.
I have
And
a
if you
question
want to
for.
look at, sorry.
No, go ahead, Karen. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, Ashley makes a great point about us being prepped. If you look at what happened today, and immediately, boom, it was this, it was that, it was who did it, this person, that person. No, that person didn't do it. Oh, they've got a suspect. Oh, that's not the suspect. That's a shill. Oh, there's someone on the roof. Oh, you're hearing every speculation under the sun. People are angry. If every corner of the internet, people are up in arms and ready. This is it. We're gonna do something. And just so much energy and bad energy, anxiety, fear, indignance, need for justice, feelings of helplessness, and we're so prepped for that already. All we've done in our little community for the last few hours on the various shows we watch is talk about it and who's right and who could be wrong, and we have no freaking idea.
We don't know. Yeah.
Except we know we don't know the truth.
And that leads into the question I had for the group here. You're talking about the reaction portion of the cycle, right? It's problem, reaction, solution. It really goes solution and then problem, then
Right.
reaction, and then implement solution, right?
Thank you, David Icke.
Yeah, I wonder if anyone knows, because I don't know, and I've never really thought to look into this. But when was the Patriot Act drafted? Was it drafted pre 9/11?
I think Biden helped write it, and it was
Yes.
before 9/11. It was
Yes.
ready, and
Yep.
Biden helped to write it.
Yep.
I think
And this-
99 or 2000. Jamie's on the.
I'm looking
Jamie's on the job right now.
Yeah, I mean, if we take a look at COVID, they did all the wargaming, the tabletop exercises of different, starting with Dark Winter and going year after year after year, leading up to Catastrophic Contagion. They wargame this stuff out, and how often does the government actually get it right? All right, they never get it right, but somehow they always seem to get these war games out right just before this pathogen comes out, and then they have the solution ready to go that they happen to, because we saved you, we saw this coming, so we saved you. No, you can't even tell me what flu strain is coming out next year, right? It's like a crapshoot. So no, I think that they are implementing this stuff after they've come up with their solution. Then they introduce the problem, and then they get the reaction. As Karen said, everybody's, the social media is horrible for getting people all fired up and riled up to demand a solution. And the government says, we'll come in and give you a solution, right? But it's going to take some tax dollars, and it's going to take some freedom away from you.
Right. And it's certainly part of manufacturing and herding people into the direction that they want them to move. So not only do they have the solution ahead of time, they have the game plan, and we know this, that they have the entire game plan sort of already thought about, planned out, and we're leading into, I was just on a call tonight or a podcast tonight, and there's a debate about whether something is communitarianism or technocracy, but essentially they are symbiotic, as was described in the show. And that is the march that we're taking. And I kind of think that it doesn't really matter. Ultimately, it's the boot on the throat, it is the surveillance, it is you will own nothing, it's all this. So it's always been towards that. And everything else that is done is either to move directly in that direction, or it is to create a situation in people that make them more malleable and willing to accept. So this is something, Karen and I talk about mind control quite often. And one of the huge components of that is having people be fearful and traumatized.
Trauma.
So, right. So these things are also function stacking. So as Karen already said, this was a huge trauma event. We all know where we were. We all know how we felt. We all know how scary it was and concerning. And it's a day that we'll never forget. So not only was it traumatic, but it also helped to bring in the Patriot Act and everything else that has happened from that point. So this was a really valuable operation. This was a cornerstone in the direction that we're headed. And you couldn't have had COVID without having this first. And then one quick thing that I wanted to add is that in regards to the Charlie Kirk situation, like what we were saying is that we really don't know what happened. We do not have enough information we can be suspicious of things in general, who did it or whatever, but we don't know. And part of that is probably intentional in that um my husband made a good point tonight that the video is being allowed to stay on social media. So things like this are going to be clues for us that maybe it's possible that it was totally organic, but that you never let a good crisis go to waste. And this is another trauma event. Do we
For a
think
new
that
generation.
Yes, and do we think that it's spiritually healthy for us to get online and see someone get murdered? I can promise you it's
But
not.
let's not forget, Ashley, the lady that supposedly got stabbed on the train.
Yes.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Let me just stop you. Hold on. Supposedly got stabbed on the train. No, that happened. So let's just remove that from your vocabulary. There was no supposedly about that. She was shanked in the neck 5 times and bled out in 3 minutes.
Well, I
No.
just wanted to point out on that topic, there is some information out there. There's some suspicious things about the people that created the GoFundMe that actually leads to a company called Care they have a base of operations in Charlotte, but they're also associated with Balenciaga and other luxury brands.
People manipulate situations all the time, but do not deny the fact that that woman was freaking stabbed to death and people stood around and watched her die.
Okay, so
I
I will
personally,
remove that.
I have questions about it too. I
I
have
do too,
questions
but
about it.
I will remove the supposedly from it and say the woman who was stabbed on the train. To Ashley's point, anytime that you show that kind of like a murder or a killing, that's removed from social media. It's always been done, but they're allowing it to stay there. That was what the point I was trying to make.
Correct. Yes.
Is that they're allowing it to stay there to push hatred, a narrative, to get people into this riled up state to demand government do something. That was the point I was going to make.
Yeah, and I'm gonna quit blabbing about it, but I just wanted to say one more thing. So there's something known as Operation Gladio. I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with that, but a big part of that was known as a strategy of tension. And I think that these types of events, whether or not they actually did happen, or it was a crisis actor situation, or whatever, that the result is the same. And we felt that energy today. This feeling of foreboding, it was an ominous feeling, and that the strategy of tension is absolutely being utilized 100%. But as far as the stabbing, I do have questions about that myself. I 100% do.
I haven't watched that stabbing because I know it'll upset me very much, but I did see the Charlie Kirk blood and him getting shot, and that was really traumatizing. And unless that was AI,
that was on Twitter. That was
he
crazy.
got shot.
I did see a video where it was steals, and I don't know if it's real. I didn't go back because I clipped it, and then I was scrolling through Twitter, and it was like every video on Twitter was Charlie Kirk getting killed. But there was one actually was showing a picture on it and was showing like his ring changed fingers, like his wedding ring actually changed figures.
Yeah, Jim Lee was talking about that tonight.
And went to his pinky ring and was on his wedding ring and it switched to his pinky ring. So, like it possibly was. I don't know. I don't know if that was real or not, but I just
scrolled under. You can see the top 3 fingers. Some of the stuff that people post and some of the stuff that people buy is absolutely ridiculous. People want to jump to the worst case scenario that there's more than what it is, or they want to be the one to find something so bad,
Let me throw something in there real quick, because I do use some light AI features as far as graphic work and audio work, and I don't think it's beyond the possibility of taking a real event and throwing it into an AI generator and saying, hey, recreate this for me, because there's going to be artifacts that come up. And then that becomes, oh, it's an AI thing. It didn't really happen. That's a possibility, right? Anything is possible.
Well, even we know YouTube is retouching videos with AI. So we could even have Twitter doing that.
Anything's possible now, for sure. For sure. Here, let me while I'm sitting here, let me finish playing this video real quick. Oops. Why didn't it do that? Okay. Never mind. Let's do what it wants to do.
Within seconds, the fiery concoction eats through the body, spraying molten thermite into the engine beneath.
Good old thermite.
And there's only one. It was an explosion. This is it might be.
More thermite.
As we were getting our gear on and making our way to the stairway, there was a heavy-duty explosion.
The whole building just collapsed on us inside the lobby.
Is that a secondary explosion?
Yes, it was.
That was the...
Yeah, definitely secondary explosion.
I heard a second explosion and another rumble.
An hour later than that, we had that big explosion from much, much lower.
It just went boom, it was like a bomb went off. And another explosion came right from it, just everyone flying.
There were numerous secondary explosions taking place in that building. There were continuous explosions.
No, the first explosion, and there was a second explosion in the same building. There were 2 explosions.
Okay. Federal agencies that were down there do believe that there was some sort of explosive device somewhere else besides the planes hitting.
There was another explosion that took place in one of the towers here. So obviously, according to his theory, he thinks that there were actually devices that were planted in the building.
There was a secondary explosion, probably a device either planted before or on the aircraft that did not explode until an hour later.
Then there was those secondary explosions and then the subsequent collapses.
That the FBI most likely thinks that there was a car or truck packed with explosives underneath the buildings, which also exploded at the same time and brought both of them down.
Now, that's the first time we're hearing that. So 2 planes and explosives that were in the building. Is that correct?
That is the working theory at this point. That is
a huge explosion now waiting to play on all of us. It sounded like gunfire, bang, 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 bang. And then all of a sudden, 3 big explosions.
About 50 consecutive bangs, and it fell down like a waterfall.
And we heard the noise associated with an implosion.
We heard a very loud blast, an explosion. We looked up, and the building literally began to collapse before us.
We heard a loud explosion, and at that point, building 2 was collapsing.
At that point, we heard a large boom. I looked up, and
just saw the building coming at us.
Do you know if it was an explosion or if it was a building collapse?
To me, it sounded like an explosion.
There was another major explosion. The building itself, literally the top of it came down.
All of a sudden, you hear explosion, and then you could see the building starting to collapse.
Huge explosion that we all heard and felt.
We understand now there has been a secondary explosion on Tower 2.
According to the Associated Press, another building that has either been attacked or exploded.
The tower, rather, that has collapsed, though we are told, collapsed because of a third explosion.
And about an hour later after that, there was a huge explosion at the base of the South Tower. That's One World Trade Center, and part of the building collapsed.
We could hear a rumble, which was about 5 seconds long, preceding the actual collapse, and then a boom when each of those towers collapsed.
Just seconds ago, there was a huge explosion, and it appears right now the Second World Trade Tower has just collapsed.
I was about 5 blocks away when I heard explosions.
And then you heard from far away, boom, boom. And you heard the boom, 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 boom.
Floor by floor, it started popping out.
It was if they had detonated. If they were planned to take down a building. Boom, 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 boom.
From the corner, boom, 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 boom. Just like 20 straight hits. And as the bombs were going, people just started running. And I sat there and watched a few of them explode. And it just started going pop. It just started going boom, 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 boom. And he goes, how fast? I go, like firecrackers.
What happened? It collapsed. The top floors collapsed down. I saw it blow and then ran like hell. Thank God. I'm 69, but I can still run. There's got to be fire.
It must have been terrifying seeing them clouds of this shit heading your way. No, most of them people got sick and all kinds of lung issues afterwards.
Still dying
Had
now.
the asbestos. I've got a video if you want to play it, Ricky, that talks about that.
Sounds good. I'll sure share a bunch.
At the beginning of its final destruction, World Trade Center 2 tips or twists to the east, but turns to dust before hitting the ground. The tipping top falsifies the claims by NIST that it was an inevitable collapse.
If the leaning top had fallen as a rigid block, it would have landed on World Trade Center 4. When we look, it is not there. Not only is it not there, but neither is the main body of World Trade Center 4 itself.
That was a big aha moment for me about the tipping top. It looks like it stops tipping and it looks like it goes straight down. Well, if you look at angular momentum and you're going to obey the laws of physics, it does. But what it does is prove that the building is no longer a rigid body. You know, the whole thing, tipping, has angular momentum, but if suddenly all of that top portion turns into little itty-bitty specks of dust, each one can keep rotating. So the whole thing doesn't continue rotating as a rigid body, but each of the little specks rotates. And that way it conserves angular momentum and doesn't violate the laws of physics. So that's a way of proving that the top turned to dust.
In this video, we can see that some of the core columns survive the rest of the building being peeled away from it like a banana. But then these core columns themselves turn to dust before our eyes.
This is the one that caught my attention, Ricky. This clip.
Just everything just polarized to nothing.
And I'm an engineer, so I know that this crap's not possible. Yeah.
Watch the center beams right here disintegrate on the right of the screen. Just turn to dust. See how it faded out to dust?
If I were to analyze this, I would say that they were supposed to go up together, but maybe there was a delayed reaction with the thermite. So, and they happened to capture that, so that's good.
I'll leave it right here for a second. We can discuss what we just see, but yeah. at an angle. Even cuts the beams at an angle. It's pretty impressive. I've cut a lot of stuff with oxygen acetylene torch, and that looks just like an oxygen acetylene torch cutting. With the slag and everything. So, and all these firefighters that were there on the ground, a lot of them were in the videos and stuff like that, talking about how big explosion it was. It's just, and again, even with this picture here, this firefighter is on the ground. There's nothing behind him but a couple beams and stuff. There's nothing, a little bit of rebar and a few beams, and that's it. Everything was gone. Everything was gone.
Can I share a video? But it has language in it. I don't know if you're cool with that or not.
I don't care.
Okay.
Let me stop sharing.
Yeah, this kind of explains it. So we talked. I mean, I asked Jamie to or asked y'all to look up when the Patriot Act was put together, and that was definitely before this incident. So they had the solution ready to go before the problem, right?
What was that date, Jamie?
So I looked that up. The Patriot Act. Says the Patriot Act, official, the USA Patriot Act. Of course, it's an acronym. Uniting and strengthening America, providing appropriate tools required to intercept and obstruct terrorism act, was written and introduced to the United States Congress in October of 2001. The bill was drafted rapidly in response to September 11 terrorist attacks. It was introduced in the House of Representatives on October 23rd, 2001, and passed the next day. When you go back and you ask, was it written before September 11? It says origins in earlier legislation came from the 1990s, particularly following the events like the 1993 World Trade Center bombing and the 95 Oklahoma City bombing. For example, proposals to expand wiretapping authority and enhance surveillance capabilities had been discussed within the Department of Justice and Congress during the Clinton administration. These ideas were a part of a broader effort to update laws for emerging technologies like internet and cell phones. But the core of it was passed or written, I guess, right after it happened. Pages was it?
Yeah, the reason I heard a lot of the things talk about the reason they're supposedly we're gonna put that word in there. Supposedly the reason we had the 95 Oklahoma City bombing happened because 93 they only killed 6 people with the 93 bombing. It didn't have enough people to have them pass legislation. After the 95 Oklahoma City, they actually were able to, because of how many people were killed, they're actually able to pass legislation.
And don't forget about the anthrax scare that happened, which further enhance that that nudge or whatever. And we know scientifically that the anthrax came from our labs. I mean, it's very traceable, like a fingerprint. We know that. But let me share this because this is kind of pertinent, and I try to send you these, and I'm sorry the links didn't work, man. Let's see if I can do this. Window, entire screen. Do I do entire screen? I'm not familiar with this platform, Ricky. Yeah, I think I
screen
got it.
and then then it'll ask you tab or whatever.
Yep. And so I can go ahead and do this. This is great, and then there's language in it. Sorry about that, but it's actually great.
I think everybody's grown here. I believe we'll be all right.
Yeah.
1.5 billion.
Well, now that's just insane.
These fucking vultures are trying to fuck my eyes out.
Have you talked to Rudy yet?
Rudy was the one who told me.
That's nice. I mean, what do you want me to say? It's 1.5. It's just what it is.
This is just when big things move, all parties have to be mutually, well, it goes without saying, somebody is incredibly miffed you made that
Miffed?
deal.
My guys told me 150 million tops. If I can't get that shit out of those walls for less than 1.5 billion, I'm fakakta. You understand? I never should have listened to you.
I never told you to buy 2 towers of Babel filled with asbestos. Nothing in New York real estate is that easy. You weren't buying a fucking belly.
I don't have 1.5. I need that shit out of the walls, or I need those buildings
Which
gone.
I told you is never going to happen. Demolition will probably cost more than it did to build the fucking thing.
See? Fakakta. At this point, it costs less to get someone to fly fucking planes into the building and collect the insurance.
For that, you'd need terrorism insurance.
I'll call you back. Deborah.
I'm right here, sir.
Oh, I need you to find out what kind of terrorism insurance we've got on those piece of shit towers.
Mr. Vice President, I've got an interesting idea I'd like to propose to you.
Did somebody order a false flag operation?
Get him whatever he wants. I just want him to feel like he's part of the team. Just pull it already.
Uh-oh. Jason.
Yep,
Get
I
that
guess it was
bandwidth.
too much.
Too much there. Too much. I'll go back to mine. Put it back up there. Yeah, that's a pretty funny video though. I never seen that one before. That was pretty good. But that's one way to get rid of all the asbestos in the walls. Just take her down and have them
And
build
that's
you a new one.
one of the things they talked about too was, I guess, knowing that we were moving into a digital age and realizing that this place would not be compatible with like a Wi-Fi or with the, smart world. I think that's a point that Monica Perez had brought up before, and I thought that that made a lot of sense after I heard that this was never going to be able to make it compatible with the technological world. So that was another reason that it had to go.
The buildings?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, upgrading the infrastructure for, you think about it, you'd have to run the internet through that whole building and stuff like that for actual.
Yeah, or like Wi-Fi.
Fiber. Yeah, Wi-Fi wouldn't work to them concrete floors.
Right.
They would have to. Plus, they would have to secure, so they would want to have it wired, and then you'd have to wire that whole thing. It'd cost a lot. Then you'd be messing with the asbestos in the walls, and they'd rather just sprinkle that shit all over the city, and then sad but true. Sad but true.
Were you guys able to catch that whole thing? I'm having bandwidth issues here, and I think it booted me out again when I was doing the video.
We caught a lot of it. That was pretty good. I've never seen that one before. I'd have to.
Yeah, it makes sense. And if you look at the video, I'm gonna cut my camera so that I don't drop out again. But if you look at the video, it's kind of interesting because the overhead shot in part of that cartoon video is exactly what you showed at the beginning of the show with what was destroyed. Like the World Trade Center complex is the only thing that was destroyed. And I thought it was important to point out that dude had took out an insurance policy specifically for terrorism, and Patriot Act was ready to go, right? Or at least in the works.
Mm-hmm.
It just reeks of government corruption and, oh my God, horrible. Sorry that you guys didn't get to catch the whole thing, because it's kind of really funny at the end. They have dancing Israelis and stuff like that. So,
well, don't worry. I got a video of them in a little bit anyway, so we'll get to catch that.
We're getting kicked off YouTube.
Oh,
by the end of this, we might.
They've gotten a lot better.
They have gotten better, and they let a lot of shows and stuff come on. So I'm wondering if they're lightening up. Maybe they're lightening up to put the hammer down for sure, or I don't know. But yeah, I have really very few little copyrights lately. There was this, excuse me. Lucy's like, Russia for some reason. Russia, like you can't show your video in Russia. I'm like, what the hell? Just random stuff. And Lucy is when I'm doing my animal videos. It's what gets me and stuff. So another one talking about the bomb here, the bomb in the video.
Bomb in the building start clearing out. Sorry, since a bomb? What'd you say? Bomb in the building start clearing out. Got it.
Even the firefighters are saying there's a bomb in the building.
Isn't there video of
impact.
Bush saying, like a couple years later, he talks
The
about
impact.
September 11 and he's mentioning bombs in the building?
Mm-hmm.
Did I save that video? There, it exists. I'll see if I can find it.
I might. It might be in my collection. I forget. I've watched so much stuff lately. This one's here's pretty good. Look here, buddy.
The impact of a jet. From what I understand, the outer skeleton of the building, the outer columns was like a fishnet, and you had these inner core columns, which was substantial, thick steel beams to withstand 4 or 5 times what the loads were. The engineers always over-design a building. No steel frame building has ever collapsed before or since 9/11. So that should say something right there. And it said that Building 7, it was a progressive collapse, that it was caused by fire. But progressive collapse, unlike the Twin Towers collapse from the top down. That's a progressive collapse, floor by floor by floor. But if you look at the videos of Building 7 collapsing, it collapses uniformly. It's collapsing from the bottom. The building stays intact all the way to the bottom of the ground, and you could see the sides caving in on it. For a building to collapse uniformly, which the videos show, all the load-bearing columns would have had to have failed simultaneously. Now, fire doesn't act like that. I came across an analogy of the Twin Towers, and if you could visualize cast iron stoves, stacked one on top of each other. The stoves up at the top, yes, there's fire and they've been damaged, but the stoves on the bottom, they haven't been damaged. So the structure underneath all of that is intact. So it's impossible for a building to collapse near free fall speed and increase
without a controlled demolition.
You're running into the path of most resistance. So something else is going on. I don't believe that it was just the planes or the fires. I think that, and they examined the dust and they found what they call thermitic material, which is like an explosive incendiary, which was in the dust samples, and that's documented. There were reports of the buildings were undergoing an extensive elevator renovation in the 2 or 3 years prior to. All kinds of workers, they had access to the cores of the building. And on the day of the attack, the elevator company would not assist in the operations of the elevators. And the elevator company it subsequently went out of business. And a couple of years after that, the information is out there. At one time when I was heavily engaged in trying to get a new investigation, I definitely felt threatened. I felt threatened for my family, and it wasn't a pleasant experience. You have sworn testimonies from firefighters regarding explosions in the building. They were suppressed. Just somebody making a statement, especially from firemen and police, if they make a statement, I heard an explosion, that's grounds to initiate an investigation. The firefighters, a bomb went off. This is their own words made that day. They just ignored it. Just like Building 7 was.
Yeah, one more.
There were thousands probably of people in these buildings.
Sure.
Where are they? Where did they go?
The remains of several hundred people were recovered from Ground Zero and ceremonially buried. But there was no trace left at all of over 1,500 who died.
Remember the people who left the building early, they've been referred to as jumpers? I don't think they voluntarily jumped.
How many people are we talking about?
About 1,200.
It was raining people.
It appears that there's a lot of mass coming out of the building for hours.
So basically it was disintegrating from the inside.
Yeah. By 5:20 p.m., there wasn't enough mass left to slam to the ground.
The walls were like an empty shell.
At the World Trade Center, 50 times the normal levels of tritium were discovered.
It's from some kind of nuclear reaction.
This is the really weird thing, isn't it? There was a big hurricane on the morning of 9/11, just off the coast. And bizarrely, it seems, no one on the news mentioned it.
This was recorded in Alaska. Ground-based magnetometers at 6 different locations.
At precisely that moment, the Earth's magnetic field changed.
He creates a static field, and within that static field, he interferes radio frequency signals.
This interference is a different kind of physics.
Yeah, seeing that about the hurricane. I don't remember the hurricane. Did any of y'all remember the hurricane out in the ocean?
Mm-mm.
No, but that's interesting because we had the typhoon, which is basically the Japanese word for hurricane, over Okinawa when it happened. So that's interesting.
Yeah, just wild videos and wild footage.
One World Trade?
Yes, I did.
And what floor were you?
72nd floor. They're very strong buildings, as you remember from the blast the last time. So,
But what does it take as an engineer to do the? Oh, no.
Just pulverized. Absolute pulverized.
The frantic dash up Church Street resumed after the North Tower came down. When the horror would end.
One World Trade?
yes, I did.
And what
It was kind of talking about like here's on the ground, here's a freaking ambulance, and everything fell down, but it didn't get buried. The whole building was pulverized. Everything went to dust.
Every American needs to listen to Oriole Palmer.
What do you think happened on 9/11?
Deputy Chief Oriole Palmer, one of the most decorated firefighters in the city, takes his unit to the first building. They go up 40 floors in an elevator while the planes have already hit. He gets off the elevator and you hear him say, "We're on the 40th floor. Everything's okay. We're going to walk up." He gets on the 50th floor. "It's okay. We're going up higher." Oriole Palmer, battalion chief, reaches the 78th floor. The floor of impact, comes out of the stairwell. And you hear him say as clear as day, "We're here, the floor of impact. We've got 2 fires and we can handle them." And the building collapses in within 1 minute.
Get out of here.
No, that's true.
It is true. I didn't know that. That one I didn't know.
The 78th floor in the South
There's another
Tower
video on
was
Oriole
the
Palmer.
bridge point between living and the dead. It was a transfer spot in the elevator system, and a lot of people had mass there. And when the second plane hit, a lot of them were killed outright. A lot of them were injured and waiting for help. And Oriole Palmer was rising and racing to that point to get to them.
We got 2 isolated pockets of fire. We should be able to knock it down with 2 lines. Where you know that? 78th floor, numerous 1045 code lines. 478. That's all. Numerous civilians. There's 2 engines up there. All right, 10-4, we're on our way.
Crazy. Right afterwards, he was gone. Crazy.
In all the videos of the collapses, explosions can be seen bursting from the building 20 to 30 stories below the demolition wave. Here, here,
Who can tell me what video this is from?
here, 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 and here.
It's almost like one of the first ones to come up. Here's the talking about the basement here. We were just talking about.
I got on the elevator and the freight elevator, and I heard the first explosion, and the elevator blew up. The doors blew up, and it dropped. And I was lucky that the elevator got caught in between 2 floors. That
Which floors?
the B levels, the basement levels,
Right.
with all the all the mechanics on.
And all of a sudden, we heard a rumble. We were just about underneath the World Trade Towers, and I think our first impression was that it was a subway. We thought it was a subway, and that if this was a terrorist attack, that they had attacked, obviously, the World Trade Center up high, and that something was going to happen down low. It felt like an earthquake.
Well, we just heard that there was another explosion in the basement or one of the lower levels of the World Trade Center.
At the time, I was actually in the subway heading towards the World Trade Center right around Franklin Street. And after the first explosion, the subway station started to fill with smoke. The subway cars started to fill with smoke, and the subways actually...
There was an explosion. We're on the support floor, which is a basement. Guy came in running. All his skin was out of his body. Oh, my God.
Going downtown.
He's the luckiest man alive right here.
Very, very lucky. I had an obligation to collect the insurance proceeds from the policies.
1 month.
A new governor was just elected. Elliot Spitzer, an old friend who I knew well. I said, Elliot.
Bought it for $14 million and collected $4.5 billion. That's a lucky man right there, isn't it?
If you don't help me, I'll never collect from the insurance companies. And guess what? He listened, and he said, you know what? You're entitled. I'm going to get you the money. And in 6 months, he got me the $4.5 billion. We got very, very lucky.
Mm. And a good old picture of it for we can look at. Jamie, why can't I get that lucky? That return in investment there. Why can't I get an investment kind of return like that? And
I guess you don't have the family genealogy to, put yourself inside of that kind of, circle of people to make that kind of money.
The Drewish power.
Whoa, 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 whoa. That's not what I said. That's not what I said.
I said Drew.
I'm just saying, it's funny how, these people always seem to get lucky and get rich off tragedy. And in every conflict and in every situation, you have to ask the question, who profits from this, right? Now, we know that this man right here made billions, but let's go beyond him, right? Because there was a 20-year campaign that destroyed Iraq and Afghanistan, along with, and you can't just you can't lump those two countries together, because there were strikes, and we had the fall of Syria, you had the fall of Libya, we were launching cruise missile. I mean, Obama, I lost count with how many cruise missiles he threw into Yemen. You know what I mean? There were so many countries, right? There are so many countries that were affected by this in the Middle East. You have to ask, who profits from that? Because the U.S. didn't profit from that. Maybe some manufacturers of weapons did. The whole war industrial complex. But who profited from the Middle East falling?
We know Halliburton profited on the weapons and for weapons on both sides of certain things, and guaranteed, and lots of all the regime changes. And I mean, the United States did profit, because if you look back in, and on them countries that got, you just named, were trying to go away from using the dollar to buy oil. And if they had got their way, then it would have cost the United States.
Gaddafi had the plan. Gaddafi had the plan. He led the charge in Africa and wanted the entire African continent to go to a gold dinar. You know what I mean? And steer away from the U.S. dollar, and he got murked. I mean, Hillary Clinton joked about the fact that we came, we saw, and he died. Those are her words. You know what I mean? Yeah, I don't know, man. I think that. Go ahead.
And I was just going to say, and I also, the situation in Afghanistan, there was a lot of um discussion about the soldiers were guarding poppy fields and things like that. So I think that that kind of is reminiscent of what we talked about Vietnam, about establishing or maintaining a drug trade. And we certainly know that drugs are a weapon used against us in a million different ways. So I think that there's that element. And of course, the people who are working in, the Lockheed Martin and the Boeing and the military industrial complex and really had money, obviously our money, stolen from us and funneled to the military industrial complex. And then, of course, when you're doing that, you're also setting up an entire generation. Because if we look at all, almost every single generation has had some type of major war, and there is that's of course not consequence free for the people that survive that, and they come back home, and then it's also contributing to, in some ways, sometimes the mental health crisis. And what is that being set up for? That was an element of something of Rosa Quar's work on the, behind the green mask, that she's talking about them cultivating mental illness, and that's intentional. So I think all of these things have threads together, but there was certainly a lot of benefit to the powers that shouldn't be for endless war.
Absolutely. I mean, and not to mention, with Iraq and we spent, there was a bunch of money I actually turned around and spent over there to rebuild Iraq after we went through there and destroyed a bunch of stuff and supposedly rebuild it. I know we had sent a bunch of contractors over there, and I know they were making, I know a lot of people making good money over there, because I think they were making like 150,000 a year, but they were only taxing them for 50. I know a
Right.
bunch of people like that. So, and they
And
made a
the
bunch of money that rebuilding what they destroyed.
For sure, that's a good point. And the other thing that I wanted, you've used some good clips from James Corbett and his coverage on 9/11, which is excellent. But he also has a little documentary talking about Saddam Hussein. Was Saddam Hussein a CIA puppet, basically? And of course, there's the association with Saddam Hussein and working with the government and the CIA. And then they killed him. So there was a lot of predatory practices, everywhere in the Middle East, except for one place.
Amazingly, amazingly, one place has been spared somehow, some way.
Yep.
I can talk on the
Go ahead. No, go ahead. Let it rip.
No, I can talk on the war front because I went to Afghanistan my first time there, and all I saw was a bunch of military police, which was the army, doing random tasks. But there was so much money going into contracting for everything from providing the food with the dining facilities to air conditioning to containers that we lived in or tents or whatever. It was a huge money laundering operation. That's what it was. That's what Afghanistan 100% was, a huge money laundering operation. And the people that I worked for, they were prior military people that had got into these contracting jobs, and they were making six figures to basically do nothing but be there. So they're basically getting paid tons of taxpayer dollars to just occupy an area. And that's what war is. Once we get our foothold in, we just occupy and we stay there forever. And it's just a constant leech off the taxpayer. And I've seen that firsthand. I understand that there's some combat that goes on and stuff, but that is a very teeny tiny portion of the swamp draining money that goes into being involved in one of these forever wars. I've seen it firsthand, man. It sucks. That's kind of what woke me up. That's what got me into Alex Jones. And I don't watch Alex Jones anymore, but when I heard him on the radio, I was like, yeah, this guy's talking my kind of tune now that I've seen what's really going on. Then I got into David Knight and got away from Alex because he kind of went, side railed on me. But yeah, it's 100%. I've seen it firsthand. And, we talk about what we talk about, but unless you've seen it firsthand, you don't know what's really happening. I've seen this crap firsthand. It is just a huge money shifting operation from your tax dollars into people. And the really crappy part is the people who vote this stuff in, they get a fraction back. So when you talk about the military industrial complex, the medical industrial complex, now it's the information industrial complex. That's the fourth revolution right there, right? The fourth industrial revolution is the information side of it. These people are making billions of dollars by leeching slowly from everybody through taxation and subsidization into their pockets, and nobody's aware of it because you have to go there to see it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I know people that talked about they were, the other thing in Afghanistan was the poppy fields and protecting them fields because, they were destroying, they were actually up there destroying them. So we had to come in to help protect them. So, for the CIA,
well,
can make money off of it, off the opium fields.
Our politicians are the ones that make these decisions, right? On how our money is spent and how much we're taxed. And they really get pennies on the dollar on their dividends for their selling out. And that's really sad. You would think that if you're going to sell out like that and, sell out your people, your constituents, you would get a better return, but they don't. They barely get anything. I've seen how much money is spent in war. It is billions and trillions. Mm-hmm. And for what, $100,000 donation? It's really sad, brother. It's really sad.
I think it's, hey, you can work, you can play ball and we'll give you this $100,000, or you can't play ball and we'll get you out of here and we'll put somebody in here that can play ball. It's, if they don't, they will step up and put somebody in there that will play ball with them,
No, I think you hit that nail on the head right there, man. They're not really in it for the money so much as the power. Mm-hmm. And they like they're narcissistic. They want the power. They want to be important. Go to these fancy dinner parties and whatnot. The money's not important to them, it is, but the power is more important. And it's just sad how much it costs us, the people, to do things that we don't want to do, for them to just get a little bit on the back end to feel important. It's really sad, brother.
Absolutely. Let's play this video.
Building collapse in New York. You might have heard a few moments ago, I was talking about the Salomon Brothers building collapsing. And indeed it has. It seems that this was not a result of a new attack. It was because the building had been weakened during this morning's attacks. We'll probably find out more now about that from our correspondent, Jane Stanley. Jane, what more can you tell us about the Salomon Brothers building and its collapse?
Well, only really what you already know. Details are very, very sketchy. As you can see behind me, the Trade Center appears to be still burning. We see these huge clouds of smoke and ash, and we know that behind that there's an empty piece of what was a very familiar New York skyline, a symbol of the financial prosperity of this city, but completely disappeared now, and New York is still unable to take on board what has happened to them today.
Presumably there were very few people in the Salomon building when it collapsed. There were, I suppose, fears of possible further collapses around the area.
That's what you would hope, because they don't really know where to turn. That's the very sad thing. I think there's going to be a lot of very, very traumatized people that has hit them very, very hard.
Jane, I think many of us, when we heard the news, perhaps on the radio earlier today, were completely flabbergasted by it and just couldn't comprehend it. It almost sounded too far-fetched. I was wondering what it's felt like for you being in Manhattan. Well, unfortunately, I think we've lost the line with Jane Stanley in Manhattan.
Imagine that. And I got the video where. Yeah.
Now, here we're going to show you a videotape of the collapse itself. Describe that. Now we go to videotape, the collapse of this building.
It does. If that wasn't demolition, I don't know what the hell was.
Amazing, incredible picture word.
Too far-fetched.
For the third time today, it's reminiscent of those pictures we've all seen too much on television before, when a building was deliberately destroyed by well-placed dynamite to knock it down.
Another video.
Isn't there a video as well of one of the firemen or something outside of Building 7 saying, hey, everybody get away, we're going to pull the building. They're going to pull the building.
Yes, there is one.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking for it. I can't find it. Whitney actually turned me on to a documentary the other day. Whitney, what's that documentary called? Codex 9/11. It dropped on Rumble. It's on Rumble and YouTube. I don't know the gentleman's name that put it out, but it is pretty annoying.
This video here is actually showing Building 7. There's no fires. It's just smoke. But you don't see no flames or anything coming out of it. If it was such an infernal flame that's going to bring this building down, then you would think you would see fires boiling out of this thing. Instead, it's just disintegrating to dust. But no fires.
Hmm? Yeah, I can't find the video of the man saying we're going to pull it. In fact, I've seen it.
And the clip I took this video from is make everybody laugh a little bit, I guess, on the situation. It said maybe they should have set these buildings on fire before they try to use demolition, because this didn't work very well. We're just using. Oopsie. Oops. Look out, building. Bam. Guess they should have set them on fire.
This is World Trade Center 7 just before it collapsed on September the 11th.
Hey, I want to point something out real quick, Ricky.
It had not been hit by an aircraft.
If you take a look at those couple clips you showed where they just dropped some stuff and it slammed against the ground, the dust and ash and stuff didn't occur until it slammed into the ground, and that's where that was generated from. If you take a look at the 9/11, the buildings coming down, that dust generated before anything impacted the ground. So that speaks volumes. As an engineer, I know, because I was an engineer for many years in the Army. There would not have been that dust. I mean, I would expect to see it if it slammed into the dirt and kicked up a bunch of dust, but the dust came from the building itself, not the ground. And that's kind of important to note.
Oh, for sure, for sure. Sweets put the chat in the chat that Codex 9/11 documentary. So if anybody want to watch that after this, of course, you can't watch it right now. You gotta watch the rest of this. Can't go nowhere. But yeah, that's a good catch.
It had been
didn't even ever hear about Building 7. All of a sudden you see the video that you're playing right now and say, that sure looks like controlled demolition to me.
One column said one column expanded, went off kilter, and that's what brought the whole thing down. Well, it wouldn't come down so symmetrically. You wouldn't have a free fall.
The BBC reporter was, that literally said, oh, the Building 7 came down and it's just right over her shoulder.
Well, the only way that happens is if you remove all of their supports at the same time. You blow them all out so that a building can really free fall.
There are a lot of legitimate questions that weren't allowed to be answered. I mean, you see the 9/11 commissioner said it was set up to fail.
That you've got a Bob Kerrey who's since passed said this is a 30-year conspiracy. It's I mean, I could go
Senator
on and
Kerry
on.
said that?
Yeah.
Why did they just get rid of all the debris from 9/11? Totally contrary to any type of firefighting investigation.
My guess is there's an awful lot being covered up in terms of what the American government knows about 9/11.
Yeah, I'm just interested in the truth, and that's what whether it's the 9/11 families, whether it's the firefighters, whether it's the architects, for 9/11 truth, and then you get that structural engineering professor up in Alaska does a 4-year study with the graduate students, pretty well debunks the NIST study that they won't even release their calculations, or a lot of them. Again, so okay, why? Again, I'm just asking the legitimate questions that the 9/11 families and firefighters want answered. I've talked to former Congressman Kurt Weldon now. I will work with him to expose what he's willing to expose as well.
What would you have done on September the 12th, 2001? What would you have done if you'd been president?
What would I have done?
Yeah.
I would have done a legitimate investigation to find out what exactly happened on 9/11. How did they know who did this so quickly like they did Lee Harvey Oswald? How quick they knew Lee Harvey Oswald killed Kennedy.
Because the people who did it were identified and we knew who they were.
Well, then why couldn't we have stopped them beforehand if they were identified and we knew who they were?
It was a failure of intelligence. Everyone's accepted
No, it
that.
wasn't. We knew before with Condoleezza Rice's memo on August 6th when it stated right in the memo, bin Laden to steal planes and run them into buildings. And more stuff is coming out now also, how much the Bush administration ignored the intelligence. It was almost like they ignored it because they wanted it to happen.
Oh, come off it, Jesse.
No, not oh, come off it.
Don't be ridiculous.
Wait a minute. Every war fought starts with a false flag operation.
You can't, in all seriousness, sit there and try and make out anybody.
Okay, let me ask you this, Piers. Wait a minute. Let me ask you something. How much studying have you actually done of 9/11 other than what the government's told you and what mainstream media has told you? I've been studying it 4 years.
I was editor of a national newspaper.
I've talked to
people.
Wait a minute.
Depth every day for 5-6 months.
Really?
So I know a lot about it.
Well,
and one
then
thing
how
I do
come?
know is
Let me ask you this.
You cannot say that any member of the Bush administration knew it was going to happen or wanted it to happen. It's a ridiculous thing to say.
Ridiculous. Okay, let's talk about your BBC. I have a tape of a BBC reporter broadcasting directly back to England talking about a third building has collapsed. World Trade Center Building 7 talks for 7 minutes. All the while she's talking, World Trade Center Building 7 is still standing right behind her. It didn't fall for another half hour, yet they were doing a pre-broadcast back to England that, yes, it's true,
you need to
that
take a
this
break here.
building fell and it hadn't fallen
If you're
yet.
trying to make out the British Broadcasting Company, one of the most respected news organizations in the world, was inventing huge buildings falling over, you
They
need to have a
did.
you need to have a break, Jesse. We'll come back after the break and we'll
you
talk about
kidding me?
Israel
Are
and
you
Iran.
kidding me? This is a fact, my friend.
I'm glad about Mr. Duffy in the YouTube chat. I'm glad you like us, Mr. Duffy. I don't think you like anybody else in the world. I think.
Did you note that? Did you note that he mentioned that they had to talk about Israel and Iran after that? Just wanted to note that.
Nice.
You
Iran.
kidding me? This is
Jesse, we'll come back after the break and we'll
you
talk about
kidding me?
Israel
Are
and
you
Iran.
kidding me?
Nice.
This is a fact, my friend.
20 years later, it's the same old thing. Here's the same picture I showed earlier. Again, except for it's got everything labeled. Like I said, the only thing damaged, here's World Trade 7, 5, 4. Post office isn't damaged. Verizon isn't damaged. Merrill Lynch, American Express. They were closer than Building 7. how did those not really get damaged? Of course, 6, of course, did, and
I'm sure there was some superficial damage, like on the surface
yeah.
from the falling debris, but intact, you know.
Yeah, like major damage. Yeah, I'm
Right.
sure. You know, little paint and some screen doors. It was back to new, but and the planes hit this way, but it came back. Another picture of the actual impacts and how it worked. A picture of Building 6. A picture of Building 7 actually just disintegrating itself.
People know that on the morning of 9/11, a lady looked out of her apartment in New Jersey, looking over to the burning tower, the first one, and saw 5 Middle Eastern looking men filming it, high-fiving and cheering. She took them to be Arabic. She called the police. The police eventually tracked them down. They had traveling around in a white van. They were Israelis. They became known as the Dancing Israelis. They were arrested and kept in custody for 71 days until the ultra-Zionist head of the criminal division of the Justice Department, Michael Chertoff, released them. And how many people know that the same Michael Chertoff released the 200 arrested in the Spiring? And they went back to Israel. These 5 dancing Israelis, 2 of which were known by the police to be Mossad agents, said that they were there to document the event. Well, hold on. How did you know it was going to happen?
And they actually went back and did a talk show afterwards. And they went back over to Israel. I had that video. I don't think I put that video out. I don't think I put that video in my presentation here. But yeah, Jamie. Yeah, if you don't see us on YouTube next week, we'll be on Rumble.
Hey, do you know what a white elephant is?
We play white elephant bingo every Thanksgiving. A lot of fun.
Well, why I feel like this came about because, again, the Patriot Act was being worked on. They needed a reason to enact it, as they do for everything. But so this dude buys the World Trade Center complex, which is the only thing damaged, right, in this massive thing. It's just the Trade Center complex. Like everything else is left untouched. Really strange. But the World Trade Center, and that's why I brought that video on where it talked about the asbestos and the removal and compliance and stuff, and it was going to be very, very expensive. Kind of a funny video. Hopefully y'all caught most of it before I dropped out. But it was a white elephant, and a white elephant goes back to, like, I think it's India, maybe, where it's like a sacred thing, where if you're given a white elephant, now you're like, it's sacred. You can't kill it. You can't get rid of it. Now you have to feed it for the rest of your life. And it's just a resource drain. So I feel like the World Trade Center purchase, the complex was a purchase that was a white elephant that they whoever bought it wanted to get rid of it, and there was a like, hey, let's do a deal with the government, and we're going to use this, and we'll help you instead of having to spend all this money to remove the asbestos and rehab the buildings and stuff like that, which you can't afford. We'll just go ahead and destroy it. And then, oh yeah, he just happened to get a bunch of freaking insurance on it right before the terrorist attacks. And it happened to take out, 2 planes took out several buildings. I mean, just think for yourself, folks. It makes sense that it's a conspiracy, and we had legislation that brought in tyranny afterwards.
Absolutely. Absolutely. More pictures. That
So have we
person's
all
been-
heard Prince singing Osama bin Laden's getting ready to bomb? You heard that song Prince sang a year or two before 9/11?
No.
You haven't
Tell
heard
me.
that?
No.
Oh, I thought that was passe.
Oh, Karen, talking about
Osama bin
music.
Laden's getting ready to bomb.
Karen,
Yeah,
talking
Prince.
about music. Somebody brought this up the other day in a chat. They said, look at Supertramp, Breakfast in America album.
Right. Yeah.
It has the
Mhm.
9/11 inverted over 2 twin towers.
Yeah.
Very interesting. I thought that was very, very interesting.
I think I
Yeah.
got a clip of that.
No,
But-
Prince sang, I think it was a New Year's
Here's
Eve. Maybe on to the year 2000, maybe, or 1999, 2000. He sang Osama bin Laden's getting ready to bomb. And what? Yeah, you can find it probably on BitChute.
I'm sure. We're
So
actually
Prince
live
was
on
singing
BitChute.
about it.
I think we're live on BitChute. We're supposed to be. I tried.
My screen is went blank, so I can't do anything. I'm gonna have to turn it off
Hey,
when we leave
Ja-
and reboot.
Jamie, you seem to be pretty quick on the draw there. Look up Breakfast in America by
Yeah.
Supertramp. Look up the album cover. And I don't know if you can invert it, like flip it left to right. But
There's probably videos about that where they do it for you. That's a pretty big topic people have
yeah,
talked about.
I didn't know about it till the other day. Somebody mentioned it to me, and I was like, "Holy crap,
Yeah.
that's kind of wild."
Jamie found a ready to bomb.
Cool.
We got one more, and we're gonna get out. I gotta go home, y'all. I gotta go back to America. I gotta go get ready for the bomb. Osama bin Laden getting ready to bomb. Osama bin Laden getting ready to bomb. Osama bin Laden getting ready to bomb.
That's crazy. I'll share the link.
I thought everybody knew about that one.
I had not heard that.
No, I hadn't heard it either, but
Yeah.
I mean, how bizarre.
Yeah, it's a year or two before. Not too long, not too very long. And I think he's out of the country, like maybe singing in the United Kingdom or something at a concert.
Yeah, it sounded like he was out of the country.
Yeah.
That's so strange.
But yeah, he goes on for quite a while there.
What you got for me, Jamie? Oh, Supertramp. Here we go.
Yeah, Supertramp.
Jamie's the man.
My brother loved Supertramp.
Yep. Inverted is 9/11 with the twin towers underneath it.
There was so many instances of these weird things like this.
Hey, there's the Trump Serta perfect sleeper sheep that he's standing and walking down the hall, and one sheep is on tower and a column that has a 9, and another one's on a column that has 11. It was a commercial he did for mattresses with Trump and the 9/11.
There was also a deal back in the old version of Windows where if you put in September 11th, you know, it actually pulled up like 2 towers and like the Israel star and stuff and like airplanes. Like it was ridiculous. And I did it myself on my own computer. So it wasn't fake. You had to put something in and then put it into the wingdings, like, you know, change the font to the wingdings. They've changed it since then. But back in the day, if you put in what is it, September 11th, 2001, that's it. And then you change the font to wingdings. It actually showed like a story, like it was almost like hieroglyphics on a wall where it shows a story. And I thought that was pretty freaky. If you do it now, it doesn't work, but it worked back then. And I did it myself multiple times.
Also, I have a video clip is a bunch of them from the Goofy movie. They had a clip from about 9/11. There's a bunch of them, different ones, all in one.
Back to
all
the
one clip.
Future.
Yeah, it's a bunch of them. We're almost to that clip pretty soon. But it's several of them. There's a lot of them, and it's missing a bunch of them too. The video I got posted in here but there's a bunch of them. It's crazy how many are out there, and plus movies, the TV series, The Lone Gunman. Its pilot episode was all about having a plane hit the World Trade Center, which they remote controlled plane. They took over the controls, and of course the goodbye guys saved it, but the lone gunman, and you can actually watch it on YouTube. You can watch the whole first season, but the pilot episode of it, you can actually you can see it. It's pretty wild, just the whole thought process. And there's a clip from there talking about how you just want like his guy was talking to his son, and he was like, well, how are we going to do that? How are we to get away with it? And he's like, there's, it's because we're not really making any money right now on military funding is down right now because we're not really into any kind of big war. So, and if we do this, there'll be plenty of terrorists that would jump to the chance to say, that they did it, and so it's crazy how much predictive programming and predictive stuff that's out there that you can see that shows that, something's going on with it.
Mm-hmm.
It was predetermined here. It's crazy something got here.
People don't use just your own thinking. The buildings went straight down. Everyone knows that. Demolition. And what's the excuse that everyone says? Well, it's because it was so hot. Think about that. It was so hot that the beams just melted. So let me ask you this. Before they collapsed and the fire was so hot that it melted steel, what were the human beings doing 5-10 feet above them in the walls, waving scarves for their lives? How are they not burnt? So the heat rises. Common sense would tell you heat rises. But this heat melted downward, and but the people on top, help!
Poor people. But he's got a point. He's crazy as hell, but he's got a point. I mean, what he's saying is true.
He does some good bits.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, Don said in chat, jet fuel don't burn that hot. It doesn't get that. It doesn't get to that temperature where you could even try to. You could throw a beam inside of, a fire with jet fuel, and it's just really kerosene. It won't get that hot. It doesn't. But
about 20 stories below. At least that's what it looked like to me. About 75 flights up below the fire, I saw from the corner, boom, 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 boom. Just like 20 straight hits, just went down, and then I just saw the whole building just went. And as the bombs were going, people just started running, and I sat there and watched a few of them explode, and then I just turned around and I just started running for my life, because at that point, the World Trade Center was coming right down, right above us, and everybody ran as fast as they possibly could. And I don't know how many people didn't make it, but I know that I went back in there about an hour later, and it's I don't know what a war zone's like, but if that's anything like it, I don't ever want to see it, because the fire trucks that were there originally were on fire, windows were blown out, cars were exploding. The bridge that overlaps, that goes across, that I was working on, is down. There's big holes in the side of buildings that the explosion fired out to.
Yeah, this.
After, about 10 minutes later, the second building went off. Did you see it? Yes, I saw it. It just blew up. Big explosion. People started running. It was just chaos everywhere.
No second plane. It was a bomb. Bomb in another building, not second plane. That was a bomb. Who said the second plane?
That's what we're told. The second plane.
No,
we saw it on
I
television.
saw everything.
All right. Thanks a lot. This is the first one went off, and then 10 minutes later, this just blew up out of nowhere.
Tell me about that plane.
Well, I didn't recognize it as a plane at first. It looked to me like a charred piece of metal, and I had thought that there was an explosion from within the Trade Center.
From my perspective, I didn't know that it was an airplane that hit the building. I still thought it was a bomb, and everything I saw told me it was bombs in the building.
And there is the very interesting case of David Handschuh. Mr. Handschuh is a professional photographer for the New York Daily News. He took a famous photo of the South Tower right after United 175 supposedly flew right into this wall.
I was underneath it. I was looking at the tower. I had my camera in my hand. I heard the noise. I never saw the airplane.
He had this view. Each image in the flight path is separated by 1 second. David Handschuh would have been able to see the plane for at least 6 seconds. He would have been able to hear it coming for considerably longer than that.
I had no idea what it was, and then the South Tower just exploded. It just blew up, and somebody said that was a plane.
It just blew up. A big explosion.
Bomb in another building, not second plane.
I had thought that there was an explosion from within the Trade Center.
News reporters at the scene also seem to have missed the plane.
Let me ask y'all, what do y'all think about the hologram theory? I remember when it first came out, when everything was like one of the hot topics back in like 2002, 3 or something like that. It was a lot of people were thinking it was like a hologram covering up a missile or a different plane. There was both those actions. Either it was a different plane or it was a missile that was covered up with a hologram of which, now, like, thinking back then was, man, they're crazy. That's just, people are reaching, but now we see that we have that technology now.
Pokemon Go, prime example. Okay. They set your device to be able to see things that aren't there, right? Through Pokemon Go. And we know that technology is 20 years behind its invention and its delivery, to the masses. Like everything comes after it's already been discovered. You know what I mean? So it could very well possibly be a real thing. I don't know, man. The cell phones weren't out like they were now, but I think they could have very well done that. Yeah, it's what the story they told us, we know is fake. So everything else beyond that is,
yeah,
it's up for argument.
And the question in the chat, I was gonna say, was it the debris left from planes? there was debris left from planes, and they found an engine, but the engine did not match the
The engine at the
manufacturer.
Pentagon, the engine at the
Yeah.
Pentagon did not. And I remember the day they pulled that bad boy out, and the pictures got circulated online, and the fan wheel was this big around. And it's like, wait a minute, where did that come from? Because there's nothing in an aircraft that big that has a fan rotor that small, unless it's
They
cruise
found
missile.
one engine in New York, and it was the wrong manufacturer. So I mean, it was it's kind of like, how stupid are you? I guess, or this didn't give a shit. Like, here, we'll put this over this piece of junk over here, and people will accept what we're going to say. And anyway, what were you going to say, Jason? I saw you were.
Oh, no, you guys are hitting the nail on the head again. We talked about this on your noon show today, your lunch show, where the parts that were scattered around the Pentagon after the fact, when there's no obvious plane. I mean, how could a plane go through? I mean, think about this, people. A plane goes through a building that is a metal grid of steel, but doesn't leave wing imprints into the Pentagon, which is just like concrete. Like, seriously, how can you believe this crap? Anyway, the parts that were scattered around didn't match the plane that supposedly hit whatever it hit, and that goes anywhere. And at Fort Drum, the main building that you have to in process and out process out of, they have this like landing gear piece as kind of like a trophy to like make people want to be patriotic and show this kind of stuff, this love for country, and let's get back at the terrorist. I'm looking at this piece of freaking landing gear, and I'm like, that's not the size of the thing that would be on that size of the plane. Supposedly came from New York, and they have it on display there. And I would challenge anybody to go to the main building, the in-processing, out-processing building in Fort Drum, New York, and look at it and tell me that's more like almost a personal plane, like a Jeffrey Epstein jet type landing gear. It was definitely not off of what they said they crashed into the building. But anyway, I digress. I know it's bullshit. I don't know what else to say.
Absolutely.
Ricky Pike, I'm going to bail out of here, brother. I'll catch you guys on the flip side. Thanks for having me tonight.
Yeah, thank you, Jamie, for popping in, and it's been fun so far, and we'll keep on. Everybody else is staying, so nobody cut off, nobody leave. Just Jamie. Jamie's going.
I'll see y'all soon, man.
All right,
Take care, Jamie.
He's gonna go play video games. We'll let him go play video.
Take care, Jamie.
Finish playing this.
I did not see a plane go in. That just exploded.
We want to bring in Mark Walsh, who's a freelancer for Fox. You live just a few blocks away and witnessed.
Dude, I live on the 43rd floor of a building, which is 5 blocks from the World Trade Center itself. I witnessed the entire thing from beginning to end.
People talk about how it looked like a movie. I know when I came walking down here early this morning and saw both towers on fire and people on every street corner, it was like a movie, but you watched the planes hit the towers.
I was watching with my roommate. It was approximately several minutes after the first plane had hit. I saw this plane come out of nowhere and just ream right into the side of the Twin Tower, exploding through the other side. And then I witnessed both towers collapse, one first and then the second, mostly due to structural failure because the fire was just too intense.
Piece of the building broke off and stabbed another.
Ricky, can I jump in, brother?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I want to just point something out here. There's a lot of people that were pre-staged before 9/11, right? The dancing Israelis or whatever with cameras set up on tripods. It was pretty still, and you know me. I know you know me. You're not going to get that very still photo shot unless it's already pre-staged with a tripod and whatnot. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, especially especially we got to look at where's 2001. Now our phones
Yeah.
and stuff got stabilization and stuff like that, where you can take stuff with in our GoPros and stuff like that. But we didn't have that back then. You had to have a tripod and actually to get that kind of footage for sure.
Well, you had to know something was going to happen before you set up your stage. And I want to roll back a little bit to World War II when our, aerial, aircraft carriers were rolled out for sea trials before the bombing of Pearl Harbor. These are things that show prior knowledge.
You're breaking up.
And go ahead, Karen. Sorry. Oh no.
No, I'm just saying you're breaking up.
Oh yeah, my bandwidth is really bad here. I'm sorry, Karen. Did you
Yeah.
have something to say?
No, I was just letting you know you were breaking up pretty bad.
Okay, I'm sorry. Well,
That's okay.
the thing is that this has been an ongoing thing with the United States. It seems like that we either welcome these things or allow these things in order to get into a situation that gives our government more power every time. And I don't know that the United States perpetrated 9/11, but I know they knew it was going to happen. And we could look at the Northwoods documents, unredacted, to see that they were willing to do that. And guess who canceled that and fired people? He was shot dead
Kennedy.
publicly.
Yeah, JFK.
Yep.
Kennedy.
And
Exactly.
a lot of people think Pearl Harbor was another one that they actually they knew was coming. They knew
Yeah.
they knew they were coming across there. There's no way they couldn't have known. They had to. There was no way they could not have known, really. So
Roosevelt knew. I truly think.
They just wanted to have. They just want to have
knew.
a reason. Yeah, they just wanted to have a reason to get in to be involved. It's the one of them. They got to have a good reason.
Well,
like Vietnam with the Tompkins Bay. Hey, we got to have a reason. And either
well,
make
when
it
you
or fake
boil
it.
it down, when you boil it down, Ricky, if you want to boil it down to what the seed of the problem is, it's economic. And I think Angry Tiger might agree with me on this if he were here to speak on it. But they overspend because they're greedy. And when people are going broke and starving, they take you to war because that ramps up the military industrial complex and production and stuff like that, which we don't even do anymore over here. We outsource everything, so it doesn't work anymore. They haven't figured that out yet. All right, they haven't figured it out. But I think that was the issue with getting into World War II. We had no business being there, but we had economic interest in ramping up production because we were producing back then. We had a lot of industry. We had a lot of machine shops producing vehicles and tanks and guns and things like that. That made sense back then. Today, it doesn't make sense. I don't know what the hell they're doing today. They're basically, I think everyone's like grasping for straws, and they're like, trying to stop from drowning and save themselves at the expense of the rest of us.
Well, certainly war is the health of the state. So that's, that is certainly a true axiom. I don't even know if my words make sense. I'm so tired. It's
No, I'm
almost
tired
midnight
too.
here.
It's been a long day.
It has been a long day. But yeah, so war is the health of the state, and certainly the financial and quality of life situation changed once the United States entered into World War II. We're coming out of the Depression, and then there was so many huge paradigm shifts that happened because of World War II. You had women getting into the workplace, getting into the factories, and you had this financial boon. You had the United States that was actually, not only did they know about Pearl Harbor ahead of time, but they were sanctioning Japan and doing things that would actually provoke them in order to have an opportunity to get into the war. So it was pivotal. We know that, but very important for the country leading forward. And also with FDR, we know that there were pretty insane overreaches of government even at that time. And we know that Japanese Americans were put into internment camps. We know that people had their gold confiscated. So a lot of the things that are happening today are very scary, but a lot of these things, at least a similar pattern has happened before. Now, I do happen to believe that we are further down the rabbit hole, but a lot of this is familiar territory. And it's like what Karen and I were talking about earlier. We see these patterns in all these different events, these threads, and we certainly can see them from World War II.
For sure, for sure. Play this video here.
This live footage was buried by the media, while eyewitnesses tell a completely different story. Watch this.
No, a bomb. I saw it. No plane hit nothing. That is not a plane. They don't know what they're talking about. How would they see a plane hit that? Dude, I saw the second explosion. There was no plane that hit the second building. That exploded from the inside out. It was a bomb. Bomb in another building, not second plane. That's a bomb. Who said the second plane? That's what we're told. The second plane. We saw it on television. Everything. All right. Thanks a lot. What happened was I was down in the basement. All of a sudden we heard a loud bang, and the elevator doors blew open. Some guy was burnt up, so I dragged him out. His skin was all hanging off. So I dragged him out and pulled him out of the parking lot. This was what was left on it. Pulled him out. When I pulled him out, I looked up, and the second bomb blew up. Just saw a burst, a big burst.
All of a sudden, you heard a loud explosion, so we all ran to look. And the first building was a big hole on the side of it, and on the other side went a plane. So we stood there in shock. Everyone's screaming. A woman collapsed on me. I had to lay her down on my textbooks. And before you know it, out of nowhere, the next building blew up. And then all of a sudden, everybody's running all over the place, a panic attack.
We actually didn't see the second plane, but we saw the explosion at the other tower.
It has to be a bomb, right? Yes, of course. That exploded right in front of us.
That looks like a second plane.
When live coverage doesn't match the headlines, you have to ask, who's rewriting the truth? Because if they can erase the truth as it happens, then...
The New York City Police Department has a report that the FBI is responding to New Jersey because a truck reportedly loaded with explosives has been stopped by authorities on the road there, and the men with that truck have been detained. Members of the Joint Terrorist Task Force, according to the New York police officials, are responding to question those people. I want to underline that all the phones to police headquarters and to the FBI from here seem to be disabled.
They stopped the truck. They found an entire truck full of explosives, and they arrested them. Those two men and their explosives are in police custody tonight, and another tragedy has been averted.
Still alive in the rubble in and around the World Trade Center. And word late tonight that 2 suspects are in FBI custody after a truckload of explosives was discovered around the George Washington Bridge. That bridge links New York to New Jersey over the Hudson River. Whether the discovery of those explosives had anything to do with other events today is unclear, but the FBI has 2 suspects in hand, said the truck load of explosives, enough explosives were in the truck to do great damage to the George Washington Bridge. But they arrested the 2 suspects, and they're questioning them as we speak.
And that it was near the George Washington Bridge. There were 2 or 3 men who were in the van. The van was pulled over. It is not clear why the van was pulled over, but when it was, law enforcers found tons of explosives inside of the van.
George Washington Bridge, Marcia.
Well, you know, Todd, it's really an amazing thing. Most of New York City's rescue operations and their police and fire departments have been concentrating their actions down in lower Manhattan, where the 2 planes hit the 2 towers of the World Trade Center. But some very intelligent and aggressive cops also stopped another terrorist attack from happening on the George Washington Bridge. CBS 2 has learned exclusively that 2 men are in custody tonight after being arrested at the George Washington Bridge with an entire truckload of explosives.
The FBI has now put out a nationwide APB all points bulletin for a white Chevy van with New Jersey registration. Written on the back is Urban Moving Systems.
I don't remember the.
There were at least 2, possibly 3 vans stopped by the police on 9/11, and a 4th van was spotted by a journalist. One had 5 individuals and traces of explosives. Another had 3 individuals and was packed with explosives. A 3rd van got away, and a 4th was possibly a diversion. The first van had been spotted in the parking lot of Dork Towers just across the river from the World Trade Centers. Multiple witnesses saw 3 men in a white Urban Moving Systems van. 2 witnesses were together less than 5 minutes after the first plane hit, and they saw 3 men taking video and still photographs from the roof of the parking garage of Dork Towers. They saw the white utility van and a brown van further behind. No one else was on the roof of the parking lot. One of the witnesses went back to his apartment and looked out the window to see that both towers were on fire. After about 5 or 6 minutes, he noticed that both vans had left. Another witness got a call after the first plane hit, but before the second plane hit, about what was happening, so she went to her window and she saw 3 men celebrating, hugging each other and flicking lighters and giving high fives. She got a good look at them in their van because she had binoculars. She wrote down their license plate, but she did not call the police until after her husband got home. She had also witnessed the men taking video and still photographs from the roof of their van. Another witness did not see the men, but did see their Urban Moving Systems van at Dork Towers at 8 o'clock in the morning. This is long before the first tower was hit. The witness who called the police stated, "Let me show you some live clips about the truck."
I don't remember the vans. I don't remember the vans. In the bombing part.
Ricky, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I think I have to go.
Oh,
It's
you're
almost
good.
midnight. I'm so
Oh,
tired.
you're good.
Brain dead.
I appreciate you. I slept in this morning, so I knew I was going to be up for a while. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I appreciate you
think
being
I'm
here.
gonna leave too, Ricky.
No, y'all good. I appreciate y'all coming on, and everybody in the chat. I'm not going nowhere. I don't know
Yeah,
what Jason
thank
got to
you.
do.
Thanks so much for giving us the opportunity to come on and chat with you. And I just really want to say the work of all of these clips that you have put together for this presentation, bravo to you. Like, I'm very, very proud of you. This is really something, and you found all kinds of really good things to talk about. So very well done on that. And of course, it's nice to see everyone in the chat and my fellow Knights of the Storm. I love these people. So thanks everybody so much, and thanks for the opportunity, Ricky.
Oh, no problem. Anytime. Y'all always welcome, and I know I'm gonna be coming back y'all's way soon, and y'all's always welcome to come pop up on here for sure. So y'all got the link. So
Awesome.
The link you have works time. So
Yeah, looking forward to
so
it.
y'all
Thank you
good.
so much.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I want to dovetail on what Ashley said with the film. Well, the filming of stuff, right? So I tend to pick apart things and I'll troll people on Twitter when there's viral, like somebody's filming something and then all of a sudden a shark jumps out of the water and eats a pigeon or some crazy stuff that they catch online, right? It's like one of these viral things that they make. And I'm like, why would somebody randomly point to an empty point of ocean just to catch it center frame? It's fake. 100% fake. So when you talk about the stuff with 9/11 where people, nobody nobody watching the news caught the first plane impact because nobody knew it was going to happen. But we caught the second plane impact. So why do we have some people that have the first plane impact on video unless they knew it was going to happen ahead of time? And that's something you just pointed out here at the tail end of your presentation, is that there was pre-knowledge. And I think that's very, very important, because that pre-knowledge means that it was planned, and that then rolls into the Patriot Act and all this other stuff we're dealing with today, 20 years later, you know?
For sure, for sure.
Yeah.
Ricky, can you kick me out because my screen is blank, so I can't leave.
Yeah, no problem. I got you.
Thank you. And I want to thank you so much for the invitation. I'm really glad that we got to know you and your channel, and you have great mods. The Sweets is wonderful and always so friendly. And Karen P. We decided we're going to be the Darrens now instead of the Karens.
There
So
you go.
thanks for all your hard work, and prayers for Glenda, Jason.
Here you go. No, all right.
And if y'all don't know, if you don't mind, Ricky, can I ask for prayers for her?
Yes, sir. Of course. Of course.
Yeah. So my wife's been suffering for about 9 days now with a chronic headache, and her family has a history of cancer. So she was really worried because the way it came like a spot that grew, and she was worried she had like a tumor or something grown in her head. And with her family history, that's kind of likely. So she finally broke down and went to the ER today and had a CAT scan done. I don't know, CAT scan, or I don't know what they did.
No,
But
MRI,
anyway, yeah, maybe an MRI. But they ruled out the cancer thing, which is great. And
That's
I thank God for everyone for their prayers. But still in a massive amount of pain. And I don't want her to be on opioids and stuff like that to deal with it. So we're still trying to figure it out, but at least we know it's not cancer at this point. So I do thank everyone for their prayers.
Oh, for sure, for
anyway.
sure. Yeah, anytime on anything like that, for sure. Always welcome to any kind of prayer request, or anything, especially on something like that.
Well, you know, I got another prayer request real quick, man. When she has to go to the hospital, I have to change JJ's butt, and I just can't do diaper changes. So pray for me. You know, I got to deal with that.
I understand.
It stinks. But anyway, I'm gonna get out of here too, brother. And I'm sorry about the issues with my connection problems. It appears to be my upload speed. My phone tends to work. It's about the double the speed of the landline. So I guess next time we do this, I'll just do you know, the video seems to work, but I can't share video and do video. I don't know. It seems to be constricted.
I understand. But I mean, I appreciate you being here, and I appreciate the, you know, y'all have the whole crew being here. I really do. And I think I know all the chat, I'm sure enjoyed the insight and y'all's point of view. And that was the goal, to have all y'all on here. And I knew it was going to be fun. So, but yeah, thank you.
I'm gonna repost this on Rumble, because I think this is one of the best presentations of like a comprehensive, you know, common sense type thing. Like, don't even trust the scientists. Just look at your own freaking eyes. Look at the firsthand people talking about what they saw. If you can't figure it out by now, I guess we're done. But this was a really good presentation, brother, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate you. Yeah. For the chat, I'm gonna be here. I actually got 18 more slides to go, so I'll be here for a little while longer. But yeah, thank you for being here, man. And like I said, I appreciate y'all. I appreciate y'all always shouting this channel out, and helping me grow. And like I said, anytime y'all want to do it again, we have a big group. I mean, that'd be awesome. We'll figure out another big subject or whatever, anything y'all want to talk about, and y'all sure welcome to.
We can do a show after the rapture, on the 23rd. That's when it's supposed to happen, right?
I hadn't heard that one.
You haven't seen that? Man, that's like viral right now on the internet. Apparently the rapture is supposed to happen on the 23rd of this month. So when it doesn't happen, we can talk about that. I really do want to talk about that because let's go back to Y2K. I know you were around in Y2K. We had Planet Nibiru, Planet X, supposed to crash into us 3 or 4 times since then. We've had so many things that were supposed, the Mayan calendar, 2012, blah, 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 blah. These things that predict the end of the world cause panic.
Oh, no, Jason got. Yeah, we get the 2012 movie with all the crazy conspiracy and stuff. But he almost made it to the end. Here we go. I hate that for it. I'll look back and see if he pops back on. Yeah, so much stuff. But yeah, we just now.
How could anyone fly a 60-ton, 125-foot wide, 44-foot tall plane through this obstacle course?
The aircraft, before striking the Pentagon, reportedly executed a 270-degree downward spiral. And yet Hani Hanyour was known as a terrible pilot who could not safely fly even a small plane.
No seats, no luggage, no bodies. Nothing but bricks and limestone.
The official explanation is that the intense heat from the jet fuel vaporized the entire plane. Flight 77 had 2 Rolls-Royce engines made of steel and titanium alloy and weigh 6 tons each. It is scientifically impossible that 12 tons of steel and titanium was vaporized by jet fuel.
We're also told that the bodies were able to be identified either by their fingerprints or by the DNA. So what kind of fire can vaporize aluminum and tempered steel and yet leave human bodies intact?
From my close-up inspection, there's no evidence of a plane having crashed anywhere near the Pentagon. And as I said, the only pieces left that you can see are small enough that you could pick up in your hand.
Shortly after the strike, government agents picked up debris and carried it off. The entire lawn was covered with dirt and gravel, so that any remaining forensic evidence was literally covered up. The videos from security cameras.
You gonna finish? Make your point, Jason. I was like, you almost made it. You almost made it.
Let me. I don't know how much you caught of that, but I was just kind of ranting for a bit. It was kind of an epic rant on everybody who talks about the end of the world crap. So let me just give you a quick. I'm gonna drop out here, but my philosophy is, don't try to predict the end of the world, because what good does that do to you? Just be ready at all times, and that's kind of a military thing. Be ready. Be ready, prepared. If you're not prepared today, 2 minutes before the apocalypse, you're not going to be prepared, right? But I've seen so many people, and there's so much stuff going on in the internet right now. We're supposed to be raptured on the 23rd of this month or whatever. They don't know that. They don't know that because the Bible says that nobody knows the time or day. So whatever. Get prepared today, folks. Get prepared today. Get prepared for CBDC today. Get prepared for no transportation today. Get prepared for no gasoline available today. Figure it out. We have to get to know our neighbors, figure it out, and have a plan B, I guess, if you will.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, Ricky, thanks for having me on, man. Sorry, I'm kind of tired now, and I'm sorry about my issues with the connection, but maybe when we get fiber in here next year, if there is a next year, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Maybe we'll have a better time next time.
Oh, for sure. No doubt. Appreciate you, man.
All right. I'll be watching on the phone. I'll be in chat.
All right. Sound good. Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Yeah, a picture right here. A plane supposedly a plane hit this building right here, and that's as far as it went. There's no plane wings. There's no engine. Like you said, the official narrative was it vaporized. And how in the hell, again, how the hell does a plane vaporize? And it didn't go through only one layer of this building. Good question, Larry. About what if the Antichrist is already here and the world was put into a trance? I don't know. And there's not ever talk about the Antichrist lately on.
Outside the Pentagon, CNN's military affairs correspondent Jamie McIntyre. And Jamie, you got very close to where that plane went down.
That's right, Judy. A while ago, I walked right up to next to the building. Firefighters were still trying to put out the blaze. The fire, by the way, is still burning in some parts of the Pentagon. And I took a look at the huge gaping hole that's in this sideway. But from my close-up inspection, there's no evidence of a plane having crashed anywhere near the Pentagon. The only site is the actual side of the building that's crashed in. And as I said, the only pieces left that you can see are small enough that you could pick up in your hand. There are no large tail sections, wing sections, a fuselage, nothing like that anywhere around.
Like all them lampposts are still there. So if a plane came in and come in, and the wings would have took out all them lights. It's just impossible.
As I moved further still, I was focusing on the impact site and the firefighting directly across from the fire engine and the control tower at the heliport. All the while I'm looking for, and again, seeing videotape and photographs and reading information about airplane crashes, I'm looking for wreckage. And I don't see anything discernible. I can't find a piece of anything that I recognize. I can't see the tail. I can't see the wheels. I can't see the engines. There's no chairs. There's no luggage. There's no logo. I mean, for Air Florida, when we shot that, you can see the logo of the Air Florida plane. There was identifiable structure that you could see with that kind of an impact on that aircraft.
The roof is still there. It hadn't collapsed yet. This ain't the video I was talking about on Lunch Show. I was looking for a video that showed it definitely, but I did find that one there where you can still see the roof was still there. So it was before the collapse. There is a video somewhere out there that actually definitely shows the video of the hole in it, and I just haven't been able to find it yet. Here's more pictures. Again, supposedly a airplane, and look at this side right here, the right side, like nothing hit that. It blew some windows out and stuff, but it's nothing struck the side of that building. If a plane wing hit it, and even if it bent over, in any kind of thought process of it could have bent over. It still had to hit something to make it bend over, and there's nothing in there. It's too small a hole. Yeah, and that's where the files were for the $2.3 trillion they're missing. Another picture. It stopped. There's fires, but you telling me a plane went through that little hole right there. Yeah, the black box should have been there, Don. Here's a round hole. Huh. Look at that. Hey, would you look at that? Here's a plane with its wings, even if it hit this direction. Right there, it should have had structure where the plane and the wing hit it. I appreciate you, Jason. That's what. And here's the other. And then the other question on it. Crash site here in Pennsylvania. Another one. There's no plane whatsoever was here. Here's the crash site pictures right here. You can see the fire, and then they come in and start with dozers and track hoes and shit and then burying stuff quick. The rumble right here. The official narrative, if y'all don't know, the official narrative on this was it hit the ground straight down so hard that it just buried itself. It hit the ground so hard that the ground opened up, the plane went in, and the ground covered it back up. Fucking amazing. Amazing. That's amazing stuff. Another. Look how hot the debris, even the dirt pile is. It's as high as these people. So you only like 8 feet, 10 foot, maybe, even if it language. Yeah, they find passports but no clothes. Good question, Don. There's no bodies. It pulverized them. But again, we can see passports. It pulverized bodies. It disintegrated steel, melted steel. It did all this amazing stuff. But passports survive it all. I'm going to build me a car out of passports. They were naked, cuz. Magic. Magic is the word. That's how it happened.
Is when you start to actually dig into the data, like the details of what happened. Like, for example, there's this whole consortium of architects and engineers that have been studying this and exposing it ever since, called Architects and Engineers for 9/11 Truth. Their website is ae911truth.com.
Mm-hmm.
And they have compiled like hundreds of hours of footage and reports, documentation, testimony from professional architects and engineers, all about how it is structurally impossible. It's not possible for those buildings to collapse in that way. That was clearly controlled demolition that was assisted by some sort of pyrotechnic or explosive devices inside the buildings. And they have evidence in every direction, from studying the dust that shows little red flakes that seem to be some sort of nanothermitic kind of material that it's hard to analyze, but clearly there's like something in the dust that shows thermite style reactions. And then it's like the steel all gets shipped away, so we can't study the steel. But when you study like other, like for example, steel framed towers, so like they came up with this complex explanation for how steel framed towers, we discovered that there's this like physics thing that when you hit a steel frame tower and you get a fire in the right way, the way they were built around this like steel core with the outsides, it's like, we just didn't realize that there can be this shearing effect that can just cause it all to go perfectly
down.
Which is like, man, like let's look at other steel framed constructions that have been hit by things before. And I just discovered this recently. I'm actually working on a report about 9/11 right now. There was a building in Poland, I think it was, in Warsaw, that during the Warsaw Rebellion in World War II, this is one of the earlier steel framed towers in the world. So you would think it would be less well constructed than the trade centers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was something like, I don't know, it was like not nearly as tall, but it was tall. It was like, 13 to 30 stories, and it became a like important piece of this rebellion back against the Nazis, where they like took it back over and flew this flag from it. And so like the Nazis were like bombarding the fuck out of it. And they shelled it with like hundreds of tons of mortar fire. Yeah. And you can see there's this famous photo afterwards where the whole building is like crooked, and all of the concrete has been blown off of it. And it's essentially just the steel frame with little pieces of concrete holding onto it. And it is still standing. And they have they have straightened it out and rebuilt it, and it's like still good. And it was hit by like thousands of shells of mortar fire. That's like steel frame construction. The Empire State Building was hit by a B-2 bomber back in the 40s, I think it was. You can find photos of it, and it just like puts a hole in it. And obviously the building was fine.
Yeah.
Right. Whereas Building 7, apparently debris from the trade centers hits Building 7, starts an office fire, and then Building 7 is just like,
I give up.
And the BBC reports on it in advance, and they're like standing there talking about how Building 7 has just collapsed, and in the background of the footage is Building 7 standing up.
Oh my god.
So they reported it like 30 minutes early.
Oh my god.
So there's all these things that just show a cover-up of something. And when you start to ask what's that something, the only explanations have to involve other intelligence agency operations, some sort of deep state operation, something going on. And so you start to ask, like, how could you possibly cover all that up? How could you possibly pull that many strings?
Well, maybe that's the whole point of it. They wanted to do something so big that they're like, this is impossible.
A lie so big that it can't be believed.
Exactly.
But there's another piece, and this is part of the report I'm working on right now, is that now we know that that was at the heyday of Epstein's influence in this country. That was the peak of Epstein's political blackmail operation.
Interesting.
Right? And so if you have Israel conducting a piece of this complex, multifaceted terror attack on U.S. soil, and you have Jeffrey Epstein operating at the same time with his talons, certainly in the Clinton White House, although by now it's Bush. But if you look at Bush's White House, it was just Israel firsters everywhere, all around. It was just a giant neocon convention. And you've got Jeffrey Epstein blackmailing like bankers and tech people and media people and government people. It's like, I don't know where the connection is, but I can't imagine it's a coincidence that they managed to cover up the biggest political cover up, the biggest scandal in American history at the time.
Maybe that's how they got so many people to keep their mouth shut.
That's what I would assume, is that a lot of key players, I would assume,
there's videotapes of them with kids
that were in on that cover up. I think they were probably blackmailed to help.
In its reign of terror.
Gangway! Have to see New York? We could all go with the bus company's special super sitter fare. $9? This one's on me.
Let's hope Osama bin Laden doesn't know show tunes. God, I hope I get it. I hope I get. Wait and see! No, you're stupid.
Well, you're stupider.
No, you're.
It's time. We will now strike at the heart of American defense and destroy the Pentagon with one swift and deadly blow. Ghostbusters to tower. We're coming in.
And I'm out of here.
The towers are falling.
What's up, Vixen? I'll just have a bunch of fun ones. Good old Alex. We got to play Alex.
Joining us is Richard Gage. A few years ago, he founded Architects and Engineers for 9/11 Truth. It's got thousands of members now, and it's made international headlines across the world. Hundreds of television programs have basically tried to debunk Mr. Gage, and of course failed because he is a prominent architect and he's got physicists, architects, engineers. It's over 1,500 now that are speaking out, and he's in Toronto for the truth hearing. So we're going to talk to him about that in a moment, and then I'm going to get his view on the video we just played earlier. You know, we interviewed more than 15 people in Austin randomly and asked, what do you think of Building 7, and showed them on an iPad the building falling. And all but one said, looks like controlled demolition. Where Architects and Engineers is right now, what these truth hearings are, and where you think 9/11 Truth is going 10 years on.
Well, as you mentioned, I'm representing 1,500 architects and engineers, now 1,560 actually. And these are demanding a real investigation of the destruction of the 3 center high-rises on 9/11. And the people in the street understand that Building 7 is a demolition. And I want to tell you also that every architect and engineer that I talk to, almost without exception, really, when they see Building 7, they agree it is a controlled demolition. And then they're just shocked. Their jaws are open. They're receptive to hearing the evidence about the Twin Towers, which, of course, unfortunately, is replete with evidence, science-based forensic evidence, documenting its controlled demolition.
Yeah, Don, he paid $12 million for the buildings and turned around and made over $4 trillion off the insurance off of it. He made a pretty good return investment on the Twin Tower complex.
Forget the politicians. The politicians are put there to give you the idea that you have freedom of choice. You don't. You have no choice. You have owners. They own you. They own everything. They own all the important land. They own and control the corporations. They've long since bought and paid for the Senate, the Congress, the state houses, the city halls. They got the judges in their back pockets, and they own all the big media companies, so they control just about all of the news and information you get to hear. They got you by the balls. They spend billions of dollars every year lobbying to get what they want. Well, we know what they want. They want more for themselves and less for everybody else. But I'll tell you what they don't want. They don't want a population of citizens capable of critical thinking. They don't want well-informed, well-educated people capable of critical thinking. They're not interested in that. That doesn't help them. That's against their interest. You know something? They don't want people who are smart enough to sit around the kitchen table and figure out how badly they're getting fucked by a system that threw them overboard 30 fucking years ago. They don't want that. You know what they want? They want obedient workers. Obedient workers. People who are just smart enough to run the machines and do the paperwork, and just dumb enough to passively accept all these increasingly shittier jobs with the lower pay, the longer hours, the reduced benefits, the end of overtime, and the vanishing pension that disappears the minute you go to collect it. And now they're coming for your Social Security money. They want your fucking retirement money. They want it back so they can give it to their criminal friends on Wall Street. And you know something? They'll get it. They'll get it all from you sooner or later, because they own this fucking place. It's a big club, and you ain't in it. You and I are not in the big club. And by the way, it's the same big club they use to beat you over the head with all day long, when they tell you what to believe. All day long, beating you over the head in their media, telling you what to believe, what to think, and what to buy. The table is tilted, folks. The game is rigged, and nobody seems to notice. Nobody seems to care. Good, honest, hardworking people, white collar, blue collar, doesn't matter what color shirt you have on. Good, honest, hardworking people continue. These are people of modest means. Continue to elect these rich cocksuckers who don't give a fuck about them. They don't give a fuck about you. They don't give a fuck about you. They don't care.
Good old George.
This question in the 1990s, and I said that the West really doesn't understand militant Islam. So I wrote a book in 1995, and I said that if the West doesn't wake up to the suicidal nature of militant Islam, the next thing you'll see is the militant Islam is bringing down the World Trade Center.
Wrote the book in 1995 and said Islam is going to bring down the World Trade Center. He's a prophet. Netanyahu is a prophet. Did y'all not know that? Now you do. Y'all learned something today.
This question and
Thanks for watching. Yeah, I put a bunch of time and effort in that. I hope y'all enjoyed that that presentation and everything. No problem, Karen. Appreciate y'all being here, and most of y'all have been here for most of the show and everything. And I'll still hang out and we can talk some more. We can, I'll bounce back more with the chat. But yeah, and I'm gonna try to do this every year, and I'm gonna keep on trying to add to it and add some more stuff. I thought about, what do y'all think? Do you think putting taking that video and actually putting some time and stuff, I could put some music with the pictures or something, and maybe put it out there, put it on Rumble or something, let people watch it on there. If somebody wants to have it, whatever. But I thought about doing that. I don't know. We'll see. Bride Mac, appreciate you being here. Like I said, I appreciate everybody being here, everybody listening. Appreciate all the Knights of the Storm being here and Jamie being here. Dave wanted to be here, but stuff happens. And thank you, Doug. I appreciate you being here. I know it's late for a lot of folks. It's 11:30 here. I didn't get up till late, so I was gonna keep on. Like I said, I'm gonna hang out with y'all a little bit longer. But I do appreciate y'all. Y'all want to see y'all want to see animal videos? I know it's been a 9/11 special, but we can still do the animal videos if y'all want. I got a few, I think. But yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, bless Charlie Kirk and his family. I can't imagine this country, what is about to happen in this country. God only knows, because there's a lot of upset people right now. And if you're going to turn around and going to have people turn around and do some things, I just hope it don't turn into a chain of effects of, both sides. Like, hey, this side does one thing and, extremists on one side does one thing. Well, that'll cause extremists on the other side to do something and bounce back and forth until we get all, yeah, let's go out on a good note. Animal videos for sure. Yeah. Gotta have some animal videos and feel good videos. They're not all animal, but there's a bunch of, especially how the day we've had today and with all the chaos. I'll say, if you pray for our nation, because there's a lot of sick people. And you too, Lily. Appreciate you being here. There's a lot of sick people in this world, and there's a lot of just, mentally ill and highly medicated, and you never know what they're going to do. So, watch your ass and everything. But here we go. Let's get some. We done all this negative, evil shit with these son of a bitches done to us. Let's get the positive. Let's end this on a high note. Let's get the positive vibes going. Get our balance going in here. Be funny. That'd be the thing I get kicked off the internet for, is my music off a cat video. That's usually what I get in trouble for, is cat videos and music on them. Yeah, for sure, Lily. Be good to people, and you never know what's going on with them. He's crazy cat, so he coming through the ceiling. The cat wondering what's going on. A helpful kitty there. That one was IT. We had the kitty IT right there. Y'all ever seen a flying squirrel? Oh, hovering squirrel. Oh, son of a biscuit eater. I'm over here talking and stuff. I didn't even share the screen. I apologize. I wish y'all had said something sooner. I'm an idiot. I guess I'm tired too. My bad. Holy hell. I haven't done that in a while. I have not done that in a while. That's funny. It's coming. It's coming, dog. Appreciate y'all letting me know. Y'all couldn't see. Here comes the IT kitty, I said. Need help with your computer today? Here's the flying squirrel. You can get Mission Impossible music on. Yeah, my bad, Tate. I guess I'm gotten tired too, I guess. I guess I got tired too. Oh, this is good. This little kid, I said, this kid he's got 3 ex-wives and his rent is late. He's playing some blues now. That kid reincarnated from somebody. We gotta have a doggy video too. Oops. It's so crazy how animals can get in the spot itself. If I tried to do that, I'd be stuck there. Y'all just had to take a hammer to it and break it. That's for sure, Brian Mac. Ain't nobody leaving here without singing the blues. Look at this big chunk.
你好，我看到你的屁股了。你好，我看到你的屁股了。
This one's. We cut the music off. He's like, "You're coming." He's pulled him out there by his face. Like, you're in the picture, buddy. Look at the camera. I guess like leave me alone. That's a good temperament cat, though. That we're to let them dogs just drag it around like that. And look at this little guy. He's ready. You ready? Corgi. Ghost the Corgi. What it says in the corner over here. Oh, this is pretty cool. I ain't never seen this before. Onward, noble steed. Onward. And look at this kitty. This kitty alcoholic.
Tómate esta botella conmigo y en el tómate esta botella conmigo y en el
That's something right there. That son's gonna sleeping good. I showed that last time.
Toma.
Well, the Crota said it needed to have at least have a lime in there, huh, Don? Poor kitty. Well, again, I appreciate all y'all for being here. As always, it's an honor and a privilege for having y'all here listening to me, and then bringing friends over and listening to them, and it just blows my mind. It still does. People told me a long time ago I should do some kind of deal. Here I am, finally doing it. So I appreciate all y'all for being here, especially the ones that have been here for so long. It's great. I know it's late. Hope y'all learned something today. Maybe you got to see some information you never seen before, or just a different concept, especially, coming from all of us, having 5 different minds, throw stuff out there and throw ideas out there, and just, hopefully gives you a new insight in what happened and what possibly, happened during the whole event. Plus some, recent stuff too, as we sprinkled in a little bit. I had a whole bunch of other stuff I got on there, but I don't want to. We've talked a bunch of negativity today, and no reason to bring in more. The world's burning and rioting everywhere. We don't have to bring in. We've seen enough today. Had enough happen today, so we'll end on a positive note. And I appreciate y'all and much love. Y'all check out the links in the descriptions. Y'all check out the merch store if y'all want to get a shirt. Make sure the big thing is, please, if you're not subscribed, please subscribe and share and help the channel grow. I know on YouTube, I need about 250 more people on there, several more watch hours, so I could actually start getting where you could, doing all kinds of extra stuff. And so I don't know. I'm just gonna keep on keeping on. I'm gonna keep on trying to throw content out, and keep on spreading much information and the best I can, the only way I know how. And I appreciate Jason and Ashley and Karen for being here and being on. Jamie is always in here. Hope Dave's doing good. And my headphones are going crazy on me also. Right at the last second. The chat's been amazing. Y'all been I've been trying to glance over there and you know, y'all been great conversating back and forth. No hatred, no evil stuff. So I really do appreciate it. And as always, y'all keep on keeping on, and the peace and the chicken grease. And much love, y'all. I really do. I'm glad we were able to do this tonight. Thank you.
Got to keep on, keep it on, baby.